All right, Jastin. And you can pick any letter this time because I'm fucking ready. For the first time of us doing video, I'm actually prepared for the game. All right, let's go A, B, C, D, or E.
E.
E. All right, you want to nominate somebody for the Council of Goodness. Who's your nominee, Jastin?
Did you forget what E was?
Object or not? Are you gonna object or not? No, I think actually somebody that you kind of mentioned in the conversation we were talking about acting before we jumped on. But would there be a reason not to put Meryl Streep in this?
I don't know of one.
I can't think of one, right? Like, so I thought I would hit you guys with that. And we haven't had a nomination in a while. I can't think of any time or if there was something done where her character was called into question or anything like that. You know, most of the time when I hear news about her, it's movie stuff or just production stuff or just, you know, she's doing this or she's interviewing for this or that. It's always just, you know, general media, Hollywood superstar stuff. But I mean, I'm not saying she's a great person, but somebody told me this, and this is why I think we should put her in. One day somebody gave me a compliment about wrestling and they were like, you know, I think that sometimes they just came up to me and just a fellow wrestler came up to me and was like, you know, I don't think we applaud enough people for just coming to work and doing their job and doing what they're supposed to do. And you never hear anything bad about them. And they always show up and they're always just there, ready to work. They're consistent. And that's it. You know, he was like, you know, a lot of people, we don't give enough credit to people like that. And he was, you know, a long story short, he was like, Jastin, you're one of those people. You always show up, blah, blah, blah. I never hear nothing bad about you, blah, 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 blah. And he just felt compelled to say that to me. Well, anyway, I think we should nominate Meryl for that reason because it's the same thing. I never hear anything bad. She's consistent. She's efficient when it comes to her work. She's always respectable. You know, nobody ever says anything bad about her. I never hear anything bad about her. And I think there ought to be a reward for that, even though I'm not always hearing, oh, she's just this extraordinary person, besides just all of the, of course, compliments she gets for being a great actress and everything like that. Of course, there's plenty of compliments for that. And I mean, but as far as just how she lives her life or what happens behind the scenes, I never hear anything bad, ever. So, you know, I think there's something to be said for that consistency. There's something to be said for somebody who just consistently does the job and does the job well and is one of the best and seems very humble about it and just continues to do their job well, you know. So I think she ought to be in. That's my nomination.
All I heard was, I want to nominate Meryl because somebody compared her to me, essentially. No, I
yes,
get what you,
no, that's
I get what you're saying though, Jastin. I mean, in a lot of ways, that to me would imply that she is like, you know, a phenomenal actress, but kind of just a normal person outside of it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know, because like some people are outside of acting are just like these phenomenal people also. But like when it comes to her, there's something to be said that like you said, I've never heard anything bad. You might not have heard these crazy stories of like her being, you know, the most generous person ever or whatever, but that's not, like I said, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That you just hear that she's great to work with. That's a fair assessment because that's a good quality in people. You want to work with them. That's a good quality. You know, I don't think there's anybody in any industry or any walk of life that wouldn't want to work with somebody that they want to work with. And that could be considered a trait that is desirable in other people. So
yeah,
I don't.
And a person just of her reputation when it comes to Hollywood, and a person that has been as successful as that, I'm sure that she could choose to be hard to work with. She could be hard to work with if she wanted to be, and maybe would think, well, it's justified because I'm Meryl freaking Streep. You know, you're gonna do what I ask you to do. You know, if I have an opinion about something, yeah, you're gonna, you know, who's right, me or you? But you don't hear those stories. You don't hear that. As good as she is, you don't hear anything like that. And I think there's something to be said for somebody that good. I mean, she is ridiculous. All the awards, all the acclaim, just everything. I mean, almost nobody matches her acclaim. Like when it comes to just pound for pound, when it comes to an actress' accomplishments, consistency, you know, hardly anybody matches that. But for her to still have that reputation behind the scenes, or almost just not a peep behind the scenes, just seems amazing to me, you know.
Now, the only thing that I've found is that there was some criticism of her with during the Harvey Weinstein stuff. No, it's people say that she knew more, like she knew what was going on and just didn't do anything about it. There is no proof of that. She has publicly came out and denounced him, and all of those things. And like I said, she was just accused of knowing and not doing anything about it. But it wasn't something where they also put viably any proof of anything that she knew. You know, when she came out saying, like, no, I did not know any of that stuff that was going on, because she had worked with him on a lot of projects, because, you know, she's considered a prestige actress. And be what it is, the Weinstein Company more or less made prestige movies. You know, that was what they were in the business to do under that. Now, under Miramax and other things, they'd make other movies. But the Weinstein Company themselves was kind of like the indie art house place for movies and stuff. But that's about the only thing I could find.
And also, I mean, and I could be wrong, but weren't a lot of Harvey Weinstein's the people that came out, like, they were really young when that stuff happened, right? And so she could have also been at that age where he wasn't trying anything, because she was already kind of older. And I don't know, I could be wrong, but that was my understanding.
I think part of it is it wasn't necessarily age; it was more of when you established.
Fair, yeah, because she was established, both like, not from him in a sense. Like, yeah, that's
she was already an established name, so yeah, he might not have tried anything on her.
Yeah,
and sometimes when you are that established, you do get insulated from stuff. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, her publicist might have known, you know, her agent might have known. That doesn't necessarily mean it gets to her, because people all the time, they when you're of their status, they insulate you from a lot of stuff. So, you know, there's that argument to be made there. But that's the only thing I've seen of her. But even then, the tweets that accused her of that were deleted. You know, so that's about the only thing I can find as far as a controversy around Meryl Streep. But I would personally say, I don't think that necessarily you know, tarnishes her completely in that regard. Because she just said, like, a lot of her stuff was, she honestly was more or less that she just did not know. You know what I mean? And that's all it is.
And that's crazy because it's not like that was that long ago. So when you look at her entire career, which is what, 2 decades? Like, like it is probably about that, right? Like, it might be more than that too, but still, like 2 decades, and that's it. Like, that's the only thing we could dig up is that somebody might have claimed that, but then they erased tweets, and then she's come out, and I knew that she had did some denouncing of Weinstein when everything happened. I knew she was kind of one of those voices kind of out there speaking about it. So yeah, I agree with your overall assessment that I don't think that would disqualify her from this. I still feel pretty confident about my nomination. But what say you guys? I mean, are you not hearing enough of the good things or the philanthropy and all that stuff? Or what do you think? What do you think of Meryl?
I mean, I would say, especially looking at that stuff too, 20 plus years of a career in Hollywood, to have like that be the only thing, which was only just a rumor, and then apparently never even proven, and tweets and stuff being deleted. Like, that's an almost unheard of track record in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Of like nothing bad, and her status and like how many people she's worked with, how long she's had her career. I mean, for nobody to be saying something bad about her is like, yeah, it's crazy. So I would agree with your assessment, and she comes across very professional and very classy to me. I haven't heard any bad things about her either, and she actually seems quite humble from just, other people who've worked with her in interviews I've heard them talk about. And I think I remember hearing some story about like Ryan Gosling at some award ceremony one time brought his mom as his date, and like she was like freaking out because she loved Meryl Streep. And I guess like Meryl Streep came over and like introduced herself to his mom and like had this conversation with her, so she just actually seems like a very polite person, a very nice person, and just carries herself in the most professional of manners in Hollywood, I think. She's a respectable person, and there is a reason that after all this time, I think that she's still a big deal. Like, there's so many other careers and people that have been in the business that long that people don't want to work with them anymore. And that's why they're not really around anymore sometimes. So the fact that she's still like actively somebody that people seek out to want to work with and do movies with, I don't think it's just her being a phenomenal actress, because there's a lot of really great actors and actresses out there that people don't necessarily want to keep working with. So I would think that your assessment is correct. Yeah, I think she seems like a very classy, lovely lady. So I say yes to that nomination.
I'll go with it too, just because also these aren't lifetime appointments to the Council of Goodness. If something happens, you can be removed.
Out. Okay. Fair enough.
True that. You could be removed. You could be kicked out.
I mean,
what is she in her 70s at this point?
I mean, if we had done this, 10, 15 years ago, Bill Cosby would have been a unanimous appointment to the Council of Goodness.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Now,
that is true.
But exactly. So yeah, it's not a lifetime appointment. So it's fine. Let's do it.
That's true. And with respect to just one thing that Heather said that made me think of that is, you always hear that saying, don't meet your heroes, because, most of the time you're disappointed. But every story I've kind of heard about that with her, it's always been a good one. She's like that hero or heroine that you want to meet, that person that you look up to if you're an actor or an actress. Like every little story like that is a positive one. Oh, she was great to work with, or oh, I met her and I told her I was the biggest fan and she was so humble about it and she blah, 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 or she gave me advice, or she gave me her number and, told me to call her and she would help me. I've heard all kinds of stories like that, when it comes to her. So, maybe she is the exception to that don't meet your heroes rule. She seems to be the hero you want to meet, So, yeah, forgot to say that, but you reminded me of it.
But yeah, so I think that's fair. I think we can put her in the council for now. Like I said, 10 years from now, we might have to kick her out. Who knows? We can kick out any of the people we put in. Who knows?
I'm keeping a track of all of our members. I'm adding her in.
All right.
Nice.
There you go, Jastin. Done.
Good pick.
I do want to go over a couple other little things real quick, though, from some of the other things that if you had picked those.
Oh, sure.
No. And it's just because there has been some crazy movie news this week. And I just want to talk about those real quick because I think those are slightly more interesting than the movie we're going to talk about today. So might as well. So apparently they're officially done writing the Joker 2. What's it called? I don't know. Joker 2 something. It's the madness of two, or the shared madness essentially, but it's in French. Like Folie à Deux or something like that. That's come out, so that's a thing. And then on top of it, apparently it's going to be a musical. And apparently they want Lady Gaga to come be Harley Quinn.
I had heard about that. And the musical thing too. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. I'm confused.
They are doubling down on all the unnecessariness. They're going, hey, we're doing a sequel. It's unnecessary. So we're going to make it a musical also, become more unnecessary. And then we're going to have Harley Quinn in it, which is probably going to be also unnecessary. Just fuck all of it off. Just
the jarring difference in tone that it seems like it's going to be. I mean, it could be a dark musical for sure, but it just the tone of it, I just feel is going to be so different doing it that way. It seems weird. And again, in general, they don't need a second movie of that. There's no reason for that.
And it almost just seems like a crime that Margot Robbie is still alive and well and talented and so great at playing Harley Quinn, and we're casting somebody else as Harley Quinn. Now I get it. Lady Gaga is a good singer. Lady Gaga has done some good acting. Lady Gaga for a musical, okay, I kind of get that. But man, it almost just seems wrong to cast another Harley Quinn when Margot Robbie is would be so game to do that and can and has really just, I mean, she's a perfect Harley Quinn, and it just seems weird to me,
Dude, this movie's going to be some edgy neckbeard, dark bullshit version of, what is it, Born a Star? Or Star is Born, whatever the fuck the movie's called. That's all it's going to be.
You could be right about that.
Part of me is kind of hoping that Margot Robbie just actually said no. It's just like, why would you do this movie? So no.
She's like, nah.
I hope that happened. I hope that happened. That'd be tight.
She's like, with the exception of the first Suicide Squad, my movies as Harley Quinn have been good. So why the fuck would I want to do a sequel to that piece of shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the worst idea in the world. Just fucking terrible. And we're going to have to end up watching it because we have no dignity. So that's a fun thing. Also, in other news, real quick, another short little thing. Apparently, Neve Campbell will not be in Scream 6. Because apparently she wants too much money and they don't want to put her in that movie because of that.
That's dumb.
Yeah, I also think that that's the dumbest fucking thing you could choose to do. Like, I don't know. She's the one constant thing outside of Courtney Cox's character for the Scream franchise. She's been in all fucking 5 of the other movies. Like, I don't care. Like, I guarantee you she's not being absorbently greedy. She's probably asking for 10 or 15 million. Which, if you base it off the budget of the last movie, is a lot of money. Because the budget of the last movie was 24 million. She's probably asking for 10 or 15. The thing is, though, is that movie ended up making 140 million worldwide. So if you double the budget, or you even do the extreme version of that, which is 2.5 times the budget, that would put it at what, 48, 60 million as your budget? Or, you'd have to make over 60 to recuperate costs. It made 80 on top of that. Neve Campbell in a Scream movie, I think, is easily worth 15 million. Oh, cool. Increase the budget. You're going to make it. Because say you pay her $15 million. I'd argue she's worth 30 in that instance. Her part of the budget will be recuperated by having her in the movie. Because frankly, I've got zero desire to go watch a Scream movie without Neve Campbell. And I feel a lot of people would probably feel the same way because it's fucking Sidney Prescott. And you're making a Scream movie without her? I mean, she's the quintessential heroine badass of modern times horror.
Yeah, she's like up there as most iconic, like final girl, for sure.
Yeah. And
man, it just makes me wonder, would a lot of men in a similar position to this, asking for that kind of money, would they have the same problem?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just don't know. After 5 or 6 movies, like, and you're the staple character in all of them, would they have this problem?
That's insanely reasonable. Matthew Lillard from, the first Scream movie, and more famously as Shaggy and a lot of Scooby-Doo stuff. When he was asked about it, he said, "Did Tom Cruise take less money for Top Gun Maverick? Fuck no, dude. Why is a woman supposed to take less? Why would you pay her, or why wouldn't you pay her more as the series goes on? And was Scream 5 a hit or not a hit? It was a smash hit. Did they make a shit ton of money? Yes. Should Neve Campbell be paid for the work she's done in 5 movies of a franchise? Yes, because she's a female lead in one of the most successful horror franchises." Accurate as fuck.
Yeah, I had read that too, and I was
bottom
like,
line.
Yeah.
He said it. Mic drop. He said it.
I just, like I said, I see her being a big chunk of of the success of the franchise. If it was not known that she was going to be back in that 5th Scream movie, probably would have skipped it. I've got zero desire for anybody else in those fucking movies. I mean, there are 2 faces that are iconic about the Scream franchise. It's fucking Ghostface and Nev Campbell. I mean, that's like saying you want to redo the Terminator franchise and not have Arnold. Like, you could do it, sure, but do you want to? As bad as those movies have got, it would have been worse if Arnold wasn't in them. I don't know. Just look at Terminator Salvation.
Yeah.
As bad as Dark Fate was and as bad as Genesis was, they weren't Terminator Salvation bad. I mean, it's just, to me, it's simple, man. Like, you give her fucking 15 million, because I guarantee you she's not going, I want 20 or 30. She's not doing that shit. She's asking for a reasonable fucking amount, and they just want a lowballer. And I hope now, if it continues like this, I hope it bombs. I hope it bombs, so they come crawling on their fucking hands and knees back to her and go, we'll give you 20 million to come do Scream 7. For the love of God, please. Come save this fucking franchise.
Yeah, come save it. I hope that happens.
I mean, Nev Campbell is probably one of the most badass female horror people. I mean, maybe second to Laurie Strode. Like, I don't even know why you would want to. If I had a script for Scream 6, it was like, hey, Nev Campbell, you want to come do Scream 6? And she's like, nah, I don't want to do it. And you were like, we'll give you 15 million. And she was like, nah, I don't want to do it. I'd fucking throw away my script at that point. Like, that's the only way I think you maybe even kind of attempt something like this, is if she just tells you no matter how much money you want to throw at her. Even if you're like, Nev, we'll give you 40 million, please just come do it. And she's like, nah, I still don't want to. That's the only way you attempt this. This movie made 80 million easy in profit. Easy.
Yeah. I'm looking at her, like the quote about what she said. And she said, sadly, I won't be making the next Scream film. As a woman, I have had to work extremely hard in my career to establish my value, especially when it comes to Scream. I felt the offer that was presented to me did not equate to the value I have brought to the franchise. It's respectfully said, it's true though.
Oh, because all the values are.
And that's their way of saying it's more about Ghostface than it is you. And we will see if that is, we will find out. We will for sure find out that they are wrong about that.
You know how it's not about Ghostface and it's more about her? Go watch the Scream TV series.
Good point.
That's your fucking proof. It's all about Nev Campbell.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. Good point.
Also, all I know is David Diggs' band, The Clipping, didn't do a song about Ghostface. They did a song about Nev Campbell. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Specifically, Nev Campbell from Scream.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the song's called Nev Campbell 96. It's about Scream. And it's about Scream. It's about Sidney Prescott. It's about Nev Campbell. It's about the Scream movie. And they still didn't go, this is about Ghostface.
Right.
It's about fucking Nev Campbell. Come on. I just hope somebody walks up to these fucking producers and slaps them. Just a good fucking full-handed slap across the face. And then they go, and they just look at them and go, you're right. We need to pay Nev Campbell.
Right.
And then we don't have to have this dumb fucking conversation again. Because it's fucking dumb that we have to talk about the fact that they're doing this bullshit.
Yeah. Probably one of the worst decisions you can make in that situation.
I mean, seriously, at this point, it's like, hey, we're making John Wick 5. And you're like, oh man, Keanu's coming back. And they go, no, we've got Scott Eastwood instead. Who the fuck's seeing that? Get the fuck out of here. Man. I don't give a fuck if it's the same writer, same director, same everyone else. You lost Keanu. Your franchise is over. Just call it a day.
Yeah, don't even make it, just to be honest.
Don't even bother.
Yeah, don't even attempt that.
Wait 20 years and hope some other actor reaches his level and reboot it then. Just don't even try now. It's that simple. Live in a crazy fucking world.
Right.
It's sad
that's really weird.
One of the craziest fucking things I've heard this last week. They want to make a Scream movie without Neve Campbell. Out their goddamn minds. Anyway,
yeah, it's a little weird.
No, those were just the other two little things I wanted to talk about. If you chose C or D, it was going to be those. But I still wanted to talk about them, so we did them anyway.
Those were worthwhile. Those were definitely newsworthy. So I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we took this journey.
Right. But you guys ready to move on to the actual episode?
1 hour later, yeah.
It hadn't been an hour yet. Only 30 minutes.
Oh, let's go. Let's go to Jurassic Park World, Dominion Kingdom, Lost. I don't know.
Nobody knows anything but you.
That's exactly how I feel, Jastin.
You are right, though. Those were definitely more interesting things to discuss.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Heather and Jastin. And today, we're going to talk about what we liked, didn't like, and everything in between with Jurassic World Dominion.
Man, you sound so enthusiastic right now.
Taking one for the team there, Sterling.
I had to go for the same tone they used for the fucking movie. We're also going to talk about the Jurassic Park franchise as a whole. We haven't really talked about that on the podcast before. So we are going to talk about the other 5 Jurassic Park movies in a more in general way. Kind of like we did with Ghostbusters. Kind of like what we've done in a couple other things in the past too. You know, we'll talk about the Jurassic Park franchise as a whole first. And then we'll talk about Dominion. I think the perfect voice to talk about Dominion would be Eeyore's voice.
Yep.
Because otherwise you would have too much emotion, and fuck this movie having any sort of emotion or depth or care for a beloved franchise or anything like that. God forbid this movie fucking try. Anyway. I don't know. I guess, Heather, what are your thoughts on Jurassic Park, the franchise, before we get into Dominion, the franchise? What are your thoughts on it? Spoilers for the other 5 movies. At this point, fuck off. Like, especially the first one. If we're spoiling anything for the first Jurassic Park movie, it's your own fucking fault. Why are you even listening to this episode?
Yeah. No, that's valid. But the franchise as a whole, you know, it made me, I would say for the most part, I cared more about dinosaurs in those movies than I ever have at any other time. You know, the first movie completely, truly still holds up. Like, I actually saw it last summer. A friend and I went to this outdoor movie thing they were doing, and they showed Jurassic Park. And I mean, it had been like a minute since I had seen it. And I was like, okay, sure. And then I was like, this is still so good. And I knew what was coming. I knew what to expect. And it actually started raining in the middle of the outdoor movie. So they had to move it inside. And I'm like, I'm still doing it. I still need to see this. I know what's going to happen, and I still need to watch it. it's still so good. That first movie is so classic, so good. Like you can watch it today and still be like, yeah, this movie is great. I mean, obviously there's not really going to be any comparison or competition even really with any of the other movies. But, I honestly didn't hate the second one. I mean, I think there's something about Jeff Goldblum's character in that in general that it just makes it fun to watch regardless. And it was fine. It wasn't nearly what the first one was. And I think at the time, you only have one other movie to compare it to. So you're like, what is this garbage compared to the first one? But looking back as a whole, it's really not that bad, in my opinion. The third one, I think I was a little like, not older, but I was a little bit older when the third one came out. So I think I don't know if I'd say cared more about the story. I think I followed the story better, I think, in the third one, just because I was older, to be able to catch on a little bit more quickly with what was going on as far as the actual storyline. But it was okay. I didn't hate that one either. Like, I don't really hate any of them. They're not all good, but I don't think I'd say I hate any of them. But I will say this third of the original set is definitely lower on the end for that one. I think, and then, what's the first Jurassic World? Just Jurassic World. Yeah. That one is super good. I would say that's probably the second best of all of them. They brought it back strong, and then it was unexpected, because I even remember the hesitation when it came out of like, why are they doing this? Because it's going to really ruin it. Because like, how do you beat Jurassic Park? But they did a really good job. They really did. I enjoyed that movie. They made it, they did a good job of making it more modern and things like that. And they had a pretty entertaining and amusing story behind it. So yeah, I think that one was really good. Then we get to Fallen Kingdom, and man, that's definitely on the lower end. It is not, it's not good. It's, and they had like that small part when Dr. Malcolm was back, Jeff Goldblum, but it wasn't enough to make me want to care more about that movie. It was messy, I would say. It was messy. It just chaotic, but not in a good way chaotic. Not in a, we're watching dinosaurs fight and the tense moments of people versus dinosaurs. It wasn't that kind of chaotic. It was just storyline chaotic, in my opinion, on that one. And then are we going into this new one, or am I waiting on that?
Yeah, wait on that one.
Okay. So yeah, I will say that gives it 5 movies. I mean, I would say three of the 5 are, well, 2 of them are solid, 1 of them is fine, and the other 2 are just not great. But again, I don't hate any of them, but I do think just the potential of what the franchise is, like, just I think they created something really cool from it. So, but yeah, I think obviously you can't beat the original. They made a really good effort, and they were really close on the Jurassic World, but yeah, it is a solid franchise. If I'm going to rewatch one of them, it's going to be Jurassic Park, or Jurassic World. But yeah, overall, I wouldn't say super fan of the franchise, but I will not say bad things about the franchise. I'll say that much.
What about you, Jastin?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, a lot of those things that Heather said, I'm pretty much in the same camp. The first Jurassic Park movie, it just, to me, is unquestionably, it's a classic. Like, whether you're talking about the theme, of Jurassic Park is a memorable theme. When you hear that, you recognize that. It's like one of, I would say, I would probably argue that's one of the most recognizable themes in cinema. Like you hear that, you know what that is. Like you just know, you know exactly what that is when you hear that. Like the movie, especially just being a kid growing up, like what kid didn't like dinosaurs or have just some sort of at least fascination with them or learned about them, that they were interesting to learn about. They just look so cool and everything like that. I mean, typically, if you ask somebody, what is your favorite dinosaur? They probably have an answer. Oh, I like the Stegosaurus. Oh, they have cool names. Like, come on, man. Stegosaurus, Brontosaurus, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Like, those are just, I mean, everything about dinosaurs is just cool. There's a mystery to them because they existed all these millions of years ago. But, we've got these museums and places where you can go and see bones and all of this kind of stuff. And when you read about dinosaurs, they're just so interesting. And I think they're just in America, just really, I think there is just this kind of fascination with dinosaurs. That's part of that's one of the mysteries of the world, that we feel like we know, but there are unanswered questions, whatever. They're just kind of one of those wonders of the world. So along comes this movie, Jurassic Park, where we have this story where these people are getting to interact with these dinosaurs at a park. Imagine a zoo, but the zoo is dinosaurs. Like, I mean, you hear that premise, you hear that log line, and I mean, who isn't going to be fascinated with that? Who isn't going to be thinking dollar signs when you hear that premise? Like, that premise just says money to me. Like, so automatically that just seems like a lucrative premise. And then you tell me that Steven Spielberg's going to direct it, just with his skill and his ability behind the camera. And so the first Jurassic Park is just the perfect storm of all of those things. It captures the wonder and amazement we have with dinosaurs. It captured it in that movie. But it also captured the volatile, dangerous nature of them. Like what would probably happen if you have these humans interacting with these dinosaurs. The questions that it raises about nature versus nurture, and should we as humans always tampering with nature and different things like that. So even that philosophical conversation is a part of this movie and a part of this film. So that's in here, and then on top of that, just like I said, Steven Spielberg directed, he just did such an incredible job with tension of those scenes. I mean, there are iconic scenes in the first Jurassic Park, like, the two glasses of water and the rumbling of the water in the glasses as the T-Rex is getting closer. And like, I watched the first Jurassic Park recently, so it's fresh on my mind. And man, the whole scene in the rain with the T-Rex and the back and forth, and they, the goat that was there for him to feed on, suddenly there's a shot of that goat and it's gone. And then you see the T-Rex swallow up the goat, and then he comes out and there's the whole siege on these people with Dr. Grant and the kids and all of that stuff, and having to try to get away from this T-Rex. Man, even to watching that today, you just watch it and you can't help but go, man, no wonder this is a classic. Like, no wonder people just really hold this so dear to their hearts, because it just was like, it was just everything. And for what it's worth, even the graphics, like the what they did with the practical effects, what they did with the graphical effects, it still looks pretty good. There was a time or two where, the special effects are a little dated and you're like, okay, they're not really there, or the screen or whatever. But for the most part, I mean, I still like the way it looks. I still like the way Jurassic Park looks. Um, whenever that Triceratops was sick or whatever, or I forget what they call it in the movie, but when that dinosaur is sick, and they're and Laura Dern is kind of trying to figure out what's wrong with this dinosaur or whatever. That scene where Dr. Grant is laying against the belly of the Triceratops, and it breathes in and out, and he sort of rises up with the breath. I mean, there are so many just like amazing scenes in the first Jurassic Park. So unquestionably, it is a classic, but it capitalized. And I think the reason why it is because it just capitalized on all of those things that I named, you know, and then Sam Neill and Laura Dern just had great performances. I really like Dr. Grant. You know, I think that's a good character. So, that's I guess, that sort of will end what I say about the first Jurassic Park. It's just, even still today, it's just an amazing movie. Now the other two, The Lost World and Jurassic Park Part 3, I'm not even going to lie. I think I've only seen these movies one time, like each. Like I saw them in the theater, and I was just kind of like, okay. And then that was like the last time. I never revisited these movies. I never rewatched these movies. I do remember two more than I remember three, though. Two, there are still some scenes in two that I really remember. I remember them running in all of the tall weeds and the grass, and and you can see the raptors closing in. You can't see them, but you see where they're making a place in the grass as they're approaching these people. That's still a wonderful scene. Like that scene is a great scene. I want to say, I think this is part two. I don't think this is three, but I know that there's a scene where like the truck was, or they had crashed. I want to say that they were in a vehicle, and the glass is breaking below them. But then there were some, I want to say, some dinosaurs above them. And so there's a situation where they have to get out of this situation, and the glass is breaking below them. That was another great scene in the second film.
Jastin, do you want me to actually explain that scene to you?
What was it again? Okay. I know it has something to do with glass.
So they were in,
maybe I was
they had like that gigantic trailer bus thing, right? There's like that extra long bus thing. And that's the scene in the second movie where the two T-Rexes come and attack the bus thing because they had taken the baby, because they were actually like splinting the baby's leg. And so the two parent T-Rexes come and they fuck up the bus thing, but they had put a winch on it to try to pull it back up over a cliff thing. And Julianne Moore's character like falls like down the bus and lands on the back glass panel. And they were trying to save her during that scene. Yeah, there was two T-Rexes in the trailer bus. Yeah.
And wasn't it like cracking? Like, didn't she fall on it?
She falls like 20 feet or so, like onto the back glass panel. And at first it holds and everybody's like, oh, that's good. And then it just starts cracking from her.
Yeah.
And then this like bag or something falls, and it's like falling, and she has to like grab this rope thing, because if she doesn't, like as soon as that thing hits it, it's shattering everything. So she has to like grab that real quick, and then the whole panel shatters, and then they start climbing up the rope, and that's when one of the T-Rexes knocks the rest of the bus off the cliff. And so they end up having to like just hold it as the bus falls around them. So
yeah, that's right. Yes. Okay. Now it's coming back to me.
I've seen that movie so long,
but I just remember somebody falling, and I remember that scene. And but yeah, so those are just scenes. Those scenes I think are standout scenes. But again, I think that when I think about this franchise overall, and I'll get to more of the world movies and stuff, but unfortunately, this franchise to me is just kind of guilty of kind of using a lot of the same techniques over and over again. I think that might be the biggest detriment to this series of movies. A trick works And then it's like, okay, I'm just going to do the same trick again, but I'm going to add. It's like a bad magician or something. Like he does the first card trick right, and everybody loves it. And he's like, okay, cool. Well, the next show I have, it's going to be the same card trick, but this time I'm going to use 2 decks, or this time I'm going to use 3 decks. And he's not really doing anything different, but when you look at, but he's doing a bunch of switching with these different decks and all that stuff. It might be a little bit longer. It might seem a little more complex, but he's kind of doing the same shit. That's kind of the problem with this series of movies.
That's a really good way to put it.
Essentially. Because as he was talking about that scene, and I like the scene in The Lost World, but as he was talking about the scene, I was thinking about the scene in the first Jurassic Park, and that scene is kind of a repeat of that scene where Dr. Grant has got the rope, and the little boy is or the daughter is, the little girl was hanging on to him, and then they're kind of draped over the T-Rex pit where it was, and then all of a sudden that car starts falling, and Grant has to swing over to the other rope cable to move out of the way of the car. And now I'm thinking about Lost World, and then we kind of did that again. But this time it was a bus, and it was just a little more extravagant, more cards in the deck, but we're kind of doing the same trick. And if you think about these movies, that theme kind of repeats. You know what I mean? Even just almost like down to the formula. We see harmless dinosaurs early in the film, and then we kind of move to the more harmful ones midway through the film and late in the film. We kind of save those things. Oddly enough, the T-Rex finale is kind of a thing now. Like most of the movies, something happens and the T-Rex is either in a fight or has to have a scene or something like that. And you know that T-Rex is going to do something cool and he's going to roar. And that's how this thing is going to end. We got to end it with the T-Rex roaring or doing something cool. And when you think about all these movies, that is a common theme, like just over and over. We're kind of doing what the first movie did, but we're switching stuff here. We're adding characters here. We're adding things to the deck, but we're kind of doing the same magic trick. And so that's sort of how I feel. But I will say this about Jurassic World. I do agree with Heather. Jurassic Park and Jurassic World are, like, to me, pound for pound, the 2 best movies in this. And I think to kind of stay within the theme of my analogy, Jurassic World redid the trick the best. Like, I don't know, maybe this magician was better dressed. Maybe he had a little bit, his gadgets and whatnot were, he had sparklers and he had some fireworks in his show and stuff like that. He added a couple of things that maybe those other magicians that kept doing the same trick they didn't have those little gadgets with them. So even though I know it's the same card trick, I'm like, well, I liked it. He did enough extra for me. He was enthusiastic. I liked the way he was dressed. I don't know. It was the same card trick, but you know what? I liked it this time. I was feeling it. That's how I feel about Jurassic World. It just brought back a lot of those similar feelings from the first movie. It recaptured that wonderment and excitement of just going to the park and seeing the dinosaurs and stuff like that. But they used some good modern tools. It was a little more, it was better modernized. It was a little meta. I like the character, the tech guy that was wearing the Jurassic Park shirt in Jurassic World, and he was talking about, and that meta line he had, back then it was just about dinosaurs. It wasn't about all these genetically enhanced T-Rexes and this, that, and the other. Back then it was just the dinosaurs. That was all you needed, was the dinosaurs. And I almost felt like that was the movie kind of making fun of itself. Like, okay, guys, we know that this is not the original, but just bear with us. But it's going to be fun. We're going to have some fun stuff. And that's what Jurassic World was. It was fun. And then the character Owen is a good character. This character that kind of has this bond with velociraptors and stuff like that. He's one of the best things about the new trilogy of movies because that's an interesting character. That's a concept that we haven't. That was something that the older movies really didn't have. Was a character with that kind of bond with the Raptors, and so all of a sudden I found myself kind of caring about Blue, and Blue kind of that Raptor kind of took on a personality of its own beyond what we had just seen, other than just, oh, it's a velociraptor, it's a dinosaur, it's either eating you or it's looking cool. It kind of gave a personality and it kind of added a dynamic to the dinosaurs and the humans that we really didn't have. So I really liked the Owen character. And at the time when we're just watching the first Jurassic World, that was fresh, that was new. And I think that that's another big reason why Jurassic World works. Plus just the fight at the end. Of course, the T-Rex has to do something at the end, but that fight was damn cool, man. That might be the best T-Rex fight, honestly, was with him and in that genetically altered. I forget what they called that.
That one was the Indominus Rex.
Indominus Rex. Yes, the Indominus Rex. That was a good fight. I liked that battle at the end. And then, when Claire lets the T-Rex out and the walk to get to the Indominus Rex and then they battle and everything. I thought that was well done. That was, to me, that was one of the cooler times they sort of did the whole T-Rex finale thing at the end of these movies. So Jurassic World is another one. I gave it a thumbs up. It's the same card trick, but I gave it a thumbs up. Then we get to Fallen Kingdom. And I'm just like you, Heather. I was like, we just spend so much of the movie. Gone is the wonderment of going to an island or a place and being, fascinated with these dinosaurs and things like that. And I get it. We can't keep telling the same story. We got to find a way to disguise the same story, but kind of tell the same story. So with this movie, we're trying to save dinosaurs and we're traveling and stuff like that. These dinosaurs are captured. And I get what they were trying to do. I get what they were trying to do with the difference in the story, the change of scenery, having our characters trying to do something different. But I mean, Fallen Kingdom just came off as so weird. Like the Claire character, I thought kind of completely changed. I didn't understand her going from being kind of this corporate, I'm a part of the Jurassic World and all I care about is numbers and everything like that. And I really don't care about the dinosaurs. If she was more about the work and the efficiency of the park or Jurassic World and everything like that. And I didn't get the sense that by the end of the movie, this character would draw the conclusion that I need to now save dinosaurs. I didn't really draw that conclusion at the end of the first Jurassic World. So I just found it kind of weird that she was just sort of this activist, like, oh, we have to save them now. If anything, you saw him kill all these people and all this stuff. I would just think that you would learn the lesson that they're dangerous and they are nothing to play with and I need to get away. I just need to find a better job. A job that's not going to be jeopardizing my nephews and stuff like that. So I don't know. I didn't make the correlation in Fallen Kingdom when she was like, oh, I just care so much about these dinosaurs now. I'm willing to put my life on the line. I thought that was a jump, movie to movie. I didn't feel that they justified that jump for that character. So Claire is a problem I had in the film. And then there are just, and I won't talk too long about Fallen Kingdom, but then there are just other things like there's a clone child, and and I won't get into Dominion, but especially after watching Dominion, I still don't understand the significance of this clone child. I think that the whole story could have played out, and this child didn't have to be a clone. And all of that stuff. I just didn't understand what that setup was in the Fallen Kingdom movie. And then it just felt devoid of like a lot of the fun things that makes Jurassic Park fun. I just don't think it had that. Like the auction was weird with all these people trying to buy dinosaurs, and those dinosaurs were severely underpriced. Like Raptor going for $10 million. $10 million for a Raptor? That's it? Like they didn't even seem priced right. Or like $100,000. Like the bidding starts at 10 million. Or then I think the highest one of them got was like what, 2 or 300 million. That seems super low for like a dinosaur. So I didn't even like agree with that. And then the whole fight in front of the auction members was weird. I don't know. That movie was strange, bro. Like, needless to say, I didn't like it. And then, of course, we got Dominion. So coming out of that, the last thing I'll say on it. So coming out of Fallen Kingdom, didn't really like it. And I was like, well, that was pretty bad. No way that Dominion can be worse than this. That was sort of how I left that movie. I was like, you know what? There's no way that Dominion's not going to be, that Dominion can be worse than this. They're bringing back a lot of the original characters. Dr. Grant is coming back. Laura Dern is coming back. You know, they're going to have we're going to see all these characters get to interact with each other. The old and the new are all going to come together and interact in Dominion. So there's no way it can be worse, right? And that's sort of how I left The Fallen Kingdom, and I'll leave it at that.
I've got a long and storied history with the Jurassic Park movies. You know, like everybody said, and like everybody does. Like, of course, I love Jurassic Park. We all love Jurassic Park. Like, it's an instant movie classic. It just, as soon as that movie came out, it was instantly in like the top whatever movies that you ever need to watch in your life ever. And it still is. It still is. I literally finished watching that movie before we jumped on this call to do this episode. It is still up there. It still holds up. Still a classic. But, you know, when it comes down to it, though, that's what I'll say about that. It's just that movie holds up. It still does. Still fantastic. When you start looking at some of this other stuff, though, when you go into Jurassic World, Lost World, or Jurassic Park, Lost World, I really, really enjoyed that movie too. Up until the end. I don't like the end of that movie. I don't like the whole T-Rex pulling a Godzilla running around. I think it was San Diego. I don't like it, but I loved the rest of the movie. I do kind of agree with Jastin. Yeah. Does it play some of the same tricks as the first movie, but just a little bit on a grander scale? Yeah. You know, instead of one T-Rex destroying a car, it's two T-Rexes destroying a trailer bus off a cliff. But you know what? I still liked it. You know, there's another scene to me that's super iconic that Jastin may have forgotten about, but there's a scene where they all run under a waterfall. And the T-Rex is hunting them. And the T-Rex can't find them completely, but it sticks its snout under there. And it starts licking. Like to find people and stuff. I was like, that's a super cool scene. Even this utterly ridiculous scene where Jeff Goldblum's daughter gymnastic kicks a velociraptor through a window into some spikes below. You know what? I loved it. It's fantastic. You know.
Why, though?
Because they kicked her off the gymnastics team, Jastin. Come on. Loved it. Loved that scene, though.
Redemption.
Because it's one of those weird scenes where it's like, just a human getting one up on a dinosaur. So it's like that cool, like a little cool concept, you know. Super loved it. And then, you know, T-Rex running around the town, and I'm like, oh my god, this is dumb. I used to hate Jurassic World 3. I've drastically softened on Jurassic World 3 because at the time it was obviously the worst of the three. You know, big dip in quality and all kinds of stuff. But that's just because I didn't realize how bad a Jurassic Park movie could get. And then you go back and you watch it and you're like, no, it kind of understood the assignment. You just want to see some dinosaurs and some people and some death, and you want to see that shit. Okay, cool. It gives you that. You know, so I'm like, okay. It, you know, way better than some of the other ones. Kind of like you guys though. I do think Jurassic World's fantastic. You know, and I agree, Jastin. I like a lot of the meta-ness of it. When they're like, oh, dinosaurs aren't cool enough anymore. We have to up the stakes. You know, and everybody that deals with dinosaurs, like actually deals with them, is like, no, dinosaurs. You know, I like the meta-ness of some of that too. I agree. I completely think it's fantastic when it comes to that. And as much as I thought it was ridiculous that, you know, somebody's like, oh, trained raptors and all this other stuff, when you see it in the movie, they do a good enough job of making it feel okay. It doesn't feel dumb. You know, so I truly think they did a fantastic job in Jurassic World. You know, because they did add enough awe and spectacle to it to kind of be nice. You know, so I liked it. And then you get to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which to me is like a tale of two movies. Because it is two movies that they literally split almost, they take the 2-hour runtime, and it's like they cut it just in half. And it's two different movies that don't blend together, and neither one's complete. You know, the first half of the movie is they're saving the dinosaurs. I really enjoyed that part. I think it's super fantastic. You know, because, and it's the same thing I really loved about Jurassic World. Lost World. And what I think is continued a little bit better, or continued okayly in Jurassic World 3. It's just the idea of an island with dinosaurs that are roaming loose. And so I like the idea of people going there and having to save them. But you just see dinosaurs everywhere. There's no security measures. There's none of that shit. You're walking around, dinosaurs there. You got to be careful. Dinosaurs are everywhere. I thought that was fantastic. I loved that idea. And I liked the little part we got. But it's only the first hour of the movie. And then they decide to then take it and make it a weird monster stalking movie in a house for the second half of the movie with the clone girl. That makes no sense. I didn't have as much of a problem with the auction as Jastin did. I do agree the prices were way too low for dinosaurs. I agree. You know, even a compy should just be $1 million for a compy. One little lizard chicken fuck. That's still a cool meal, right? Like, cool meal right there. For just one of the little chicken fuckers. Like, I mean, easily. Triceratops on its worst day, 75 mil. A Triceratops missing a horn is still 60. Like, because it's a fucking Triceratops.
Yeah.
You know, like it's fucking bonkers what they were doing in that. You know, but I think that movie just didn't know what it wanted to do. It was two different movies. It didn't blend them together. And I think a lot of the problems in that movie led to a lot of the problems in this one because of the bullshit of the clone girl. Because they had to shoehorn that more into the next fucking movie. which means to me they didn't learn the lessons that Jurassic World completely commented on, which was fuck all this other shit. It really is about the dinosaurs. And then literally the next movie, they went, man, you remember when we said that in the last movie? We're like, yeah. We're like, we can't wait to see more of that shit. And they went, we lied. You get half a movie of that. The rest of this is back to the genetically altered and genetic sci-fi bullshit that we were making fun of in the first movie. And they did the entire second half of the movie of that. And then a slight spoiler for this movie. And then they went, you know what? The next one's going to be all that. Fuck everything about the other 6. It's all that now. Man, this franchise just lost its goddamn mind. And so I I love the first one. I really like the second one with the exception of the last 20 minutes. I'm pretty okay with the third one at this point. Really like Jurassic World. And I am just genuinely disgusted in the last 2. And now one thing I will bring up that neither one of you brought up, which just shows how much of these I've fucking watched and how many times I've watched them. You were talking about doing the same things over and over again and all this other stuff. Why did nobody comment that every one of these movies has to have a climactic scene in just monsoon rain conditions?
Yep, that's true.
Every single one of them does it.
There's another trick in the bag. Every single one of them has that.
Just
that is true.
Monsoon rain conditions, we has to have a scene. Come on. Because it doesn't matter where they're at. I kind of get it in Costa Rica. That's that rainforest type of climate. I kind of get it. But then, spoiler alert for the last one, they're in fucking Italy. Raining. Just a monsoon storm in the middle of Italy. Just fuck. Just so much rain. So much rain. But yeah, no, fuck, dude. I love the first one, though. And it still looks good. It looks good. Why are there movies being made in 2022 that don't look as good as that fucking movie? Because it looks good.
After all this time, when did that movie come out?
In the 92?
93.
93, yeah.
Yeah, 93. Man, that's so many years ago, and it's still
almost 30.
Great.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
There are movies 2 years ago that look terrible now. 3 years ago that look terrible now. It's crazy.
I mean, they did such a good job of blending animatronics, stop motion, and computer. That's the thing, is a lot of people think that these were actually computer-generated dinosaurs, and they're not. There was a form of stop motion technology that they were going to use at the time, and it would have looked okay. But what they did in this movie is they just kind of computer enhanced that. So they were still using a solid real world reference and just animating that and enhancing that instead of just generating from the ground up dinosaur. Now I will say this. I will give Jurassic Park, or the whole Jurassic Park, Jurassic World franchise, I will give them credit for typically looking good, though. All the movies typically look good. Even the ones I don't like, typically the dinosaur models are pretty solid. They're still they're good, at least visually speaking. They don't really ruin themselves or anything. So I'll give them credit for that. Also, one thing I do think that's underrated about Jurassic World is I like that they fix the inaccuracies of the Jurassic Park franchise in Jurassic World. Because Dr. Henry Wu has that line, none of these are real. You know, none of these are accurate to what these dinosaurs were. You wanted us to make them what people thought they were. You know, you wanted them to be bigger. You wanted them to be scarier. You wanted bigger claws, this, that. You're like, you know, you wanted that. You know, I loved that they did that because it was like what? Like an actual raptor is about the size of a turkey. So big a velociraptor is a turkey. There's like, I think the word or the what the raptors in the movie are more closer to are like called like a Dionysus or something like that. And about 2 years after the first Jurassic Park came out, they actually found a raptor though. It was actually about that size. It was actually more closely akin to those. And it's got some weird name that has like Stillbergio or something like that. They partially named it after Spielberg because of the Jurassic Park franchise. And that would be cool. That'd be more accurate to what they are and stuff like that. But nobody gives a fuck about accuracy. You know what I mean? And, you know, but I like that they comment on that in the last one. Like, these aren't velociraptors. These are what you wanted velociraptors to be, you know? And so, like, I thought that was cool that they did that. It just explains away the inaccuracies in a very realistic way, too. That would be accurate. Nobody would really want to see a bunch of fucking feathered dinosaurs running around. I mean, you should, because, you know, they're still fucking dinosaurs. I don't give a fuck if they've got feathers or not. It's still a goddamn dinosaur. You'd be amazed.
I mean, that's the epitome of fix the problem with one line of dialogue that we've talked about in other things.
Yeah. And it was just smart that they did that. You know what I mean? Just smart that they had the wherewithal to even do that. Like I said, fixes so many problems. And some of it was that they just genuinely didn't know some of the stuff back then. You know what I mean? Like the Brachiosaurus isn't a real thing. Like it's actually a different dinosaur that they mix some parts up with. You know, little things like that. So, but, you know, super cool that they, you know, that they had the wherewithal to change that. So, you know, like I said, I've seen these movies tons and tons of times. And weirdly enough, the only one I've seen twice is Fallen Kingdom. Every other one of these I've seen easily probably 20 plus times. Because Jurassic Park movies they're fun background movies for me. Or they're just fun, I want to feel good movies. Like there's just something about that first Jurassic Park where I'm like, I just want to feel good again. You know, you want to like, and it's weird that watching a dinosaurs murder a bunch of people makes me feel good. But like, to me, that's the movie that reminds me of simpler times.
And you know what it is? Like, that is also like the definition of like just movie magic for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like, sometimes I want to feel like a 7-year-old and have no responsibilities or care in the world. So I want to watch some Jurassic Park. You know? And it still does it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The only reason why I have any sort of energy right now is because I watched Jurassic Park before we started recording. Other than that, I probably should have ate myself into a coma because the amount of food I ate before we recorded also was absurd. I ate like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on a cheat day.
Oh man.
I don't know why. I felt frivolous tonight. So I ordered Outback for delivery. Dude, I got me 11-ounce sirloin. I had a fucking full thing of mashed potatoes. I got a side of their Tasmanian chili because it's new. I wanted to try it. It's all right. It's all right. I mean, some Tasmanian chili. But then I ate all that, but I also ate the whole loaf of bread by myself and a whole bloomin' onion by myself.
God.
That is so impressive, man.
That boy feasted.
I did.
It might have been just overeating to feel good because of after Dominion. Like how close was this to after you saw Dominion?
Oh, I saw Dominion like 5 days ago.
Okay, so yeah, you needed the food.
Well, but I watched Fallen Kingdom again 4 days ago. That might be more accurate as to why I feel bad. I watched Fallen Kingdom 4 days ago. Still reeling from that one. Especially when you know it's going to be bad. Like when you watched Fallen Kingdom, you didn't know yet. You hadn't seen it yet. So you watched Fallen Kingdom and then Dominion back to back, like in back to back days or whatever, right? Like really close proximity to each other.
Yeah.
So you went into those not knowing. I watched Dominion and then went, man, I should probably watch Fallen Kingdom again, I guess. And then went and watched it the next day, knowing full and damn well what it was. It hits a little harder that way. Like it's just that much, like just a little bit worse when you know it's that piece of shit that you're about to watch and then you watch it.
I like the idea that you were just like, I'm about to watch an epic movie tonight and I just want a feast of goodness with it.
I did. I was just craving a fucking steak. I just wanted a steak. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to eat a steak, I need some deep fried onions. So I ate those.
Like you do, of course.
Naturally, the perfect side to a steak, right? Deep fried onions. So good. And they cared so little about when they put it in the container. There was like a pool of grease at the bottom of my fucking my bloomin' onion because they didn't drain it right before they put it in the to-go container. They just went straight in. Oh, it was so good. Just that extra cholesterol. Man. So like those last little onion strips had been sitting in it for a little while. So they were like crispy and mushy all at the same time. Oh, it was great. God, I love America. That's all I got to say about that. I was about to say recommendations and scores. Fuck. No, we haven't even started on this goddamn movie. We haven't even started it yet. Fuck, you ready for this? Let's do it. Let's go. That's it. That's their Jurassic Dominion noise. You know what? I'll go ahead and say I'll start this. Man, fuck this movie. You know, everybody came back and that was cool. And that's where the coolness kind of ceases to like exist. I didn't really like anything fucking else in this movie. I mean, Jeff Goldblum was Jeff Goldbluming around. Laura Dern running around being Laura fucking Dern. Sam Neill looking like a silver fox. Sam kneeling about. You know, and then the other people, you know, Chris Pratt was in it. Dallas Bryant Howard, she was in it, whatever. They were fine. But after Fallen Kingdom, I really didn't give a fuck if they came back to a movie or not. But they did. Yeah, and that kind of ceases to be the coolness of this movie. Everything about this movie outside of that is either in the trailers or just rehashing other bullshit. That's it. It's in the trailers or rehashing. They did not try for a single goddamn new idea in this movie at all. Like, they want you to think they did. They're like, dinosaurs are in the real world now. It's going to get fucking real. No, it really didn't. You know, the raptors and the carnosauruses, I think that's what they were. They might have been allosauruses. Anyway, those fucking things running around Maltese. Was that not the same goddamn thing as the end of Lost World? It's the same fucking thing. Oh, raptors in a fucking motorcycle. Wait, where have I seen that before? A scene in some rain. Oh no. Just all the fucking newness. I think the coolest scene in the movie, they give away in the trailer, and it's also in the first fucking 15, 30 seconds of the movie. I genuinely think that, the Mesosaurus? The Mesosaur? The fucking fish fuck. That guy.
Yeah.
The fish fuck guy. Him attacking that ship genuinely was probably the coolest scene in this fucking movie to me. And it's in the trailer. And it's also at the beginning of the movie. And you're not surprised by it because in the trailer, you see it attacking a crabbing vessel. So when you see a crabbing vessel at the beginning of this movie, you just know what the fuck's about to happen. If you at least didn't put that scene in the trailer, it could be, you could at least argue that maybe like a pterodactyl or a pterodon or something like that's going to fucking come attack it or something. You know what I mean? You could argue that maybe something else. Even if you know that that's what's coming, if you just haven't seen it before, you still kind of would get a little hyped. You know what I mean? Even if you're just going to go, oh, this is the middle of the ocean, you know what's about to happen. As long as you hadn't seen it in the trailer, you could get a little pumped. You just can't. And like I said, it's not even a spoiler. It's the first 30 seconds and it's the trailer. And that's the sad thing. I've given away plot points of this movie, and I haven't said anything that's not in the fucking trailer. That's it. Jastin, go. Or your spoiler-free thoughts.
Yeah, the word that I just keep coming back to with Dominion is just disappointing. Like, I won't go into the details here. I'll save it for the spoiler, but I felt like in Fallen Kingdom, it was building to something. And by the end of Fallen Kingdom, my expectation was when I saw what happened and the dinosaurs are running free in the city where we were. Weren't we in like what, California or something? Where were we?
Arizona? No, there were trees. I don't fucking remember. Was it?
I want to say it was Cali, but I could be wrong about that. I want to say the mansion was in Cali, yeah. But yeah. So these dinosaurs are running free in California. So you show me dinosaurs running free in California. And so with that comes some expectations. And I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to see how Dominion is going to start. I can't wait to see what they do with this premise of these dinosaurs just running amok in the city and all of this kind of stuff. And you're bringing back all the original cast. Oh man, my imagination, and I guess that's why that's the double-edged sword of my imagination and my ambition sometimes, because sometimes I would just overhype an upcoming film in my head. I'll have all these possibilities and things in my head like, oh man, surely some of those things will happen. And then unfortunately, it was just kind of what Sterling said. I got to the show and it was just that same damn magician, man, being like, okay, man, here's this card trick. Let's do it again. But I got 6 decks this time. And I'm like, man, dude, nah, man, I'm leaving, man. And he's like, wait, you don't want to see you don't want to see the trick again? You already paid? And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll stay and watch the trick one more time,
Northern California, you were right. Okay. Northern California is where Lockwood Manor is supposed to be.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So with that, I just had expectations, and what I got was kind of the same trick I've been getting. And it just sucks that that's the best we could do. And then, like Sterling was alluding to, I thought this movie was going to be about dinosaurs, and it winds up being about something else entirely under the guise that it was about dinosaurs. And that's just weird and strange when this is supposed to be like the ultimate culmination of Jurassic Park. And this is supposed to be just this final adventure. And man, it felt so far from that. It just, man, like it felt so unlike a finale. I almost want them to try again. Like I almost feel like just like a disappointed coach or something. Like man, we got to get one more game so that the team just doesn't, this can't be the way we go out on the season. Like, that's what this feels like.
Yeah, because
that's what
this movie can't be the end of the franchise. Like, I can't cope with it being the end of the franchise.
Exactly, right? That's how you feel. You just feel like this can't be the end of Jurassic Park. It can't. That's how I felt. It was that level of disappointing to me. And if you think that's an exaggeration, we would talk about plenty in the spoilers, but that's what it felt like. It felt like, no, this can't be the end. This can't be the way that this ends. It just can't. That's what it felt like in a nutshell.
What about you, Heather?
I mean, yeah, I definitely cannot disagree with that. I think you said it best, Jastin. Like it's the same. It's like a one-trick pony situation. Like they do the same thing, same setup in every movie, and it just feels too familiar. You know, it's like there's nothing new, nothing that really grabs you. There's no twist. There's no really real stakes in the movie because you've already seen this movie played out so many times and what's going to happen that you're not concerned about the risk of what's going to happen in a sense. So I feel like that's their biggest flaw with this movie. Maybe this is an unpopular opinion though. I actually do like this one better than Fallen Kingdom. I think that the story is a little bit less convoluted and chaotic. Not to say it was necessarily great, but I think just in general, the overall story in this movie, I think was more interesting than the one from Fallen Kingdom. And that's just me. I'm not saying either one are great. I will agree that it's a disappointing movie for a lot of reasons, especially because, I mean, yeah, like when you see that original cast is coming back, you're just like, oh man, like this could be amazing. And just the potential they could have had in that case. But it just turned out to be that this movie would have meant absolutely nothing without that aspect of it. Like that is the only reason that this movie was not a complete bomb, in my opinion. And they didn't even do a whole lot of kind of like what Sterling said, like they were just kind of doing their normal stuff that they would have done. But that's part of what you kind of loved about the original franchise is those characters being those characters. And so that's why it worked. But yeah, it just was unfortunate because I think there were a lot of missed opportunities to gel the new and the old group of people together. I mean, which they do, but they could have used it in a better way and a more entertaining way. And that was a really missed opportunity on their part. I mean, I just think more dynamic, even between like Dr. Malcolm and Owen, like that could have been a fun exchange and dynamic between them. And, you know, Bryce Dallas Howard's character with Laura Dern's character, like there just could have been a lot. They did have some, but, you know, I think that there just could have been a lot better opportunities and dynamics they could have created if you're going to bring back that original cast, right? So that was really unfortunate that they didn't do that. And really the reason that I will say that I liked this movie even nearly as much as I did is because they brought those old cast members back. Yeah, I just, there were just some things in it that I was like, what's the point? Why are we doing this? I also feel like it's kind of a bummer that some of the like random side characters they use in the other movies, they should have actually kept them here. You know, I know we'll get into it more, but like the Justice Smith's character from the second of the Jurassic World movies, he's in this for a very, very short time. You know, he's working for the CIA now, whatever. I liked his character a lot, and I think that they should have maybe had him in it more. I think that could have been a cool thing. The guy you were talking about in Jurassic World, the first one, with the t-shirt, like the tech guy, he was a fun character. That would have been fun to bring him back for something. I just think, but I mean, I don't know. They're not major people or major players, but they were at least interesting, more so than some of the characters we did get. So yeah, I think it was, I don't know. It's okay in the sense that the reason you like the Jurassic Park movies is because of the type of things they do in them. But when you've seen it enough times, you're like, I've seen this done better in an earlier movie that you've done, So that's really its biggest flaw, other than just dynamics between the characters should have been done and meshed together a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, and I know there's like so many more things we'll talk about probably, but that's the gist of really how I feel. I just kind of am a little bit indifferent about this movie because of it not doing anything new that grabbed my attention more than the others did.
Recommendations and scores?
Yep.
Yes. Recommendations and score.
Heather, go.
I mean, yeah, I mean, just because if you like the franchise, watch it just because. Just don't expect anything amazing out of it. If you enjoy the original cast or characters of people, watch it. If you just want to see how they finish out this like last trio of movies, watch it. But if you don't, I'm not going to say you're missing out. It's a very conflicting viewpoint that I have here. I'm really almost completely down the middle with this one. It's just okay. I don't hate it. I don't think it's the worst movie I've ever seen, but I don't love it. And I would probably not rewatch it for any reason. Unless it was just like to know what was going to happen before a next one that they do. If I'm watching a Jurassic Park movie, again, just for the fun of it, it's not going to be this one. But, there were some moments in it, and it's well made, kind of like what you said earlier. I mean, they make them pretty well, even if the storylines aren't great. But I think just because the storyline and the plot of this one I liked more than the one in the second, I'll give it a little bit more than halfway. So I'm going to go with 55. Owen doing his standard hand gesture to Blue 1,000,000 times in this movie out of 100.
Jastin, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I just can't recommend it as a good film. I just don't think it is. It's kind of like what Heather said. It's respectable enough as far as how it's made. There are a couple of action sequences that I thought worked, or at least were kind of fun or whatever. There are some interactions with the characters. Honestly, you said something there, and I won't get into spoilers of it, but I think that what something you pointed out, Heather, adds to my disappointment. Like, you had all these cast members from this series, and it was almost like if the Avengers movie played and it took all the way to the end of the movie for the Avengers to actually be a team and come together, and all that whole movie was just these people doing separate stuff, and then the last 10 minutes, you get to see the Avengers team together. That's a little bit, I'm without saying exactly what happens. That's a little bit of what happened here. And I think that was disappointing because what you paid for was these interactions with all these characters. You wanted to see all these characters at the same time interacting with not only each other, but with dinosaurs. And it felt like it took a little too long to get to that. Like, by the time it was done with the narrative, I didn't care. I didn't care enough by the time we got there. And then the narrative that it came up with to get us there just felt so left field without saying anything. And so I don't know, man. I didn't find myself enjoying this like I should have. Sure, there were some fun scenes. I laughed a time or two. There was when we finally did get some of those interactions I wanted, I liked them, you know. It's kind of like what you said. There's nothing just super terrible about it, but man, that's such a low bar when this is supposed to be the finale. It's terrible for a finale though. It's supposed to feel like, oh man, this ultimate culmination. I'm supposed to get some big feelings from it. There's supposed to be an epic moment. And there wasn't even like that moment. What would that moment be? What was it supposed to be? I mean, maybe at some things that happened at the end.
You want me to tell you what the culmination was? It's a slight spoiler, but I don't give a fuck. When that T-Rex is walking by that circle, and he kind of makes the Jurassic Park logo right before the final fight. That's the culmination of this fucking movie. Is recreating the goddamn logo of the movie.
Oh man, I mean that's hilarious, but you might be right because I fail to find that moment. You know, normally in a finale movie, there is the moment. There is the moment where it's like, oh man, you can think back and go, oh man, this was the moment where all of this happened and you realize that's why we told this whole story. That's what this was all for. That this is what we were building to. Oh man, it's so satisfying because we got to this moment. What even was that in this? It might be what Sterling said when we made the logo. And maybe that's kind of ironic because maybe the moment is making the logo because we have profited off of this logo enough. Maybe it is time. If this is the best idea that we can come up with, maybe it is time to put it to rest. Maybe that is just the ironic truth of it all is let's stop just sucking the logo dry. If this is the best we can come up with. So no, I can't recommend it as that, but if you're a completionist, of course you're going to watch it. If you need to see how this all ends, and I'm almost hoping this is not the end for Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, Jurassic Planet, whatever the next series is going to be. I'm kind of hoping that this is not the end, Come on, man. Let's do a 3-part Jurassic Planet, Jurassic Galaxy or something. And please give me something better than this. Let's go up a notch and do something else. I really hope this isn't the end, but nah, man, it's not good enough to recommend as a finale, but I know you're going to watch it anyway. So do what you do. As a score, we're going to go with I don't think it deserves 50. We're going 49 and a half. 49 and a half. Where the hell was the moment out of 100?
Heather, I was kind of like you up until like yesterday. I thought Fallen Kingdom was worse. Until yesterday. I just been sitting on this movie thinking about it. And I kind of had like that kind of crisis of faith that Jastin was talking about. Where is that finale moment in this movie? Like, and then I started going through like the 5 stages of grief. Like I got into like anger and denial. I'm like, this isn't the end. This is the gotcha. This is Dominion Part 1. We're going to get a Part 2. They're going to secretly announce for next summer and be like, gotcha guys, Dominion Part 2 next year. You're like, okay, they're actually going to end it there. Okay. Like, then you get to acceptance of like, fuck, it's bad. It's just bad. And like, I guess my bargaining was, it's not as bad as Fallen Kingdom, at least. But then like, no, like I said, I get to acceptance. Nah, it's bad. It's bad. It's worse. It is. Because I think the bar should have been higher for this movie than Fallen Kingdom. And so this movie disappoints me more than Fallen Kingdom did. You get to the end of Jurassic World And you think about what the sequel could be. It could be anything. All they did was they escaped the island. The ending, so it's wide open for that, and they just dropped the ball on that one. But this one, they set up the premise of dinosaurs in the real fucking world. Dinosaurs running around, traffic jams due to brontosauruses walking by. It's real life fucking Flintstones is what they set up. And then you don't get that movie. You get the culmination of all the heroes of the franchise coming back one last ride. They don't do anything worthwhile without any of it. So the premise for this movie, the bar for this movie was bigger and higher. And it hit none of it. Just fucking none of it. To me, based on some of the things like that you guys had said and stuff like that, you were talking about like the importance of it being a finale and whether or not dinosaurs actually matter in this movie and all the kinds of stuff. To me, it's like if you get to Avengers Endgame and you like everything was the exact same, Infinity War, everything, and you get to Avengers Endgame and after they kill Thanos, the rest of the movie is the rest of the Avengers battling the Smurfs. And that's it. It's that out of fucking left field. It has to do with anything else that the fucking franchise was about. To me, it's the same. I don't get it. And I'm genuinely more disappointed by this movie than I guess I was Fallen Kingdom. And so I genuinely I hate this movie more.
That's valid.
Yeah. It had more potential. It had more reasons to be successful. And just succeeded at none of them. I'll give this movie 19. It's about fucking locusts, not dinosaurs, out of 100. Spoilers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Spoilers.
Like I just said, the movie's about locusts, not dinosaurs. Like, maybe the culmination scene, Jastin, isn't the logo. Maybe it's the fire locust tornado. Maybe that was the culmination scene of this fucking movie. That really important thing to the Jurassic Park franchise, the locusts. Yeah, it was that. Jesus fucking Christ. What the fuck did they do in this movie? How did they go, guys, we've been making 5 movies about dinosaurs. Let's change it up and make it about creation or what is it? Fucking Jurassic Locust? Like, what the fuck? Like, in what universe does somebody write that down on paper and somebody else goes, yes? And then they make a whole goddamn movie about it. This movie's about fucking locusts. The villain of this movie is a goddamn bug. And it's a dinosaur movie. That's why I said it's the equivalent of putting Smurfs in Endgame. You've already set up
even worse,
Thanos.
It would be like you start Endgame and that first 5 minutes when they killed, that first 10 minutes when they killed Thanos and Thor cut his head off, that's it. That's it for Thanos. And the rest of the movie, we're fighting Smurfs.
Exactly.
That's what it was.
That's what they did.
That's exactly what it was.
And they just say the word Thanos throughout the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they're fighting the Smurfs.
That's what it is, dude. That is so what it is. Because like you said, they set up this whole premise of dinosaurs in the city running amok. Oh man, that's the movie we're going to get. And in the first 5 to 10 minutes, we see some news. We get a news exposition explaining that all that shit is all, we're beyond that shit. The stuff that you wanted to see, here's a little of it, but we're past that in the world of the movie. And why did we bypass that?
And
why did we bypass that for the locust?
Was it just me, or was the dinosaur effects in the news overview a little bit off? The dinosaurs didn't look as good as they did in the rest of the movie. It's almost to me like they made the movie and went, fuck, we didn't address that at all. Let's rush through and do this real quick. Oh, we're not done animating it. I don't give a fuck. The movie comes out tomorrow. Just hit send. It looked like the fucking iPhone video game version of some of these dinosaurs and that stuff. I don't understand what the fuck they were doing with this movie. And like I said, the coolest scene is that fucking fish fuck taking out that boat. And that's the first scene of the movie. That is the coolest scene in this whole fucking movie. Because everything else in this movie is either a rehash about something else or it's a fucking locust. Because even when you get to the dino battle at the end of this goddamn movie, it's the T-Rex versus a big T-Rex fuck. I don't know. That was only in Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic World.
Yeah.
And just like Jurassic World, you had to have another dinosaur help it. And this time, they choose the fucking Freddy Krueger turkey?
Yeah, the Clawmeister or whatever he was, the Clawmeistersaurus or whatever. What was that?
It was a fucking emu with claws that you saw for 30 seconds earlier in the movie, and now it's important enough to be in the final battle? What the fuck? Let alone it technically is the one that gives the kill shot to, what did they call that thing? The Giganotosaurus? I don't give a fuck if that's a real dinosaur. It's got the worst name for a fucking final battle name, Giganotosaurus. It sounds like somebody making fun of something that's not a dinosaur. It's a big not a dinosaur is what the fucking name of it is. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, literally, that thing's only scene was, oh, look at those claws, look at those talons. And then he clawed that lamb or whatever it was. And then it was like, then he started eating plants and they went, oh, it's a plant eater with hedge clipper claws or something. I don't know. And then that was it. That was his scene. And then he gets to come back at the end and help Big T.
Jastin, you forgot about how he stared at Dallas Brian Howard underwater. You forgot about the stare down scene, Jastin. Come on. Oh, pivotal to this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he's the technically the third most important dinosaur in the goddamn movie. Like, what the fuck was that? And then why did they do that thing of the T-Rex and it just stare at each other afterwards and like nod in respect to each other and go their separate ways? That's not how it would fucking work.
Yeah.
They would get in a fight then.
You're right, yeah.
I know. Why were they acting like they knew they were being filmed? Like they knew.
Dude, they nodded each other like it was a fucking samurai movie. Then they were giving each other honor and respect. Like, it just like, you know, I was like, what the fuck was that? And also, I honestly don't know what the difference in that fight scene was than the one in the Indominus Rex in Jurassic World. I literally think it's the exact same film animations. They just swapped out they palette swapped the other dinosaur out. And then threw the turkey fucker in. Like, what the fuck was that? And outside of that, there was no other real iconic moment with the dinosaur. You had the flying dinosaur take down the plane. Kind of a cool scene. Also in the trailer. You have the feather raptor that dives underwater. Kind of a cool scene. Also in the trailer. You have the Allosaurus or the Carnosaurus, whatever the fuck those were, running around Malta. Kind of a cool scene. Oh, wait. Also in the trailer. You have the Deinonychus raptors or whatever chasing Owen through Malta while he's on the motorcycle. Kind of a cool scene. Oh, wait. Also in the trailer. You have the Giganotosaurus almost bite the clone girl on the ladder. kind of a cool scene. Also in the trailer. They didn't do a fucking thing right in this goddamn movie. The only thing that like, that's it. Like everything else is in the trailer, or it sucks. Like there are three things in this movie. It's either in the trailer, it's rehashing something from another movie, or it's a goddamn locust scene. That's it. That's the only things that exist in this movie. And it sucks on every level of it. And then the thing that adds insult to injury to me is the final scenes of this movie where they were like, hey guys, you know how you wanted to see dinosaurs in the real world? And we kind of just blew past that in 3 minutes at the beginning. You went, yeah. And then you were like, you know how we gave you a movie of just dinosaurs in a jungle like you've seen several times, essentially, for the rest of the movie and some fucking bugs? And you were like, yeah. And then they went, you know what we're going to give you at the end of the movie? A couple more scenes of dinosaurs in the real world from a movie you're not going to get to fucking see. Fuck you, Jurassic World Dominion. Fuck you. You bookend it. You bookend this movie with the only goddamn thing you should have made this movie about. And you put none of it in the middle of the movie.
None of it.
Also, how are there this many dinosaurs? They saved like 20 of them from the island. And there's enough just to run around the world? There's enough of them to illegally breed them? I know they're illegally breed them. It says that in the movie. But there's enough of them? There was like 20 of them on that fucking boat. They all fit under one house. Every dinosaur that's supposed to be in this movie fit under one house.
What?
And there's enough to just run around the fucking world now? And also, once again, you have to have a T-Rex fighting in the rain. It's just another fucking scene of rain. Just all the rain. And on top of that, the only other cool concept that they truly kind of kept throughout these movies is the concept of Owen and Blue's relationship that exists for 15 minutes in this movie because Blue's in it for 15 minutes.
Yep.
Fucked off the rest of it.
Yep. Owen, could go get my kid. Then at the end, thanks, Owen, for bringing me my kid.
Another head nod situation.
Yeah.
Just
all that development with Blue, all of that stuff with Blue and that relationship and all of that building that, and that's all Blue gets. But Hedge Clipperosaurus, or whatever that Gigawattosaurus gets to be the star. Man, if Blue was a person and they were two different actors, man, Blue would be mad, dude. Blue would be mad as hell. Why is he at the end of the movie? He just got here. I've been here since World.
exactly. Like that bird dinosaur. What is that bird dinosaur? No. The Pyroraptor is the raptor that swims under the ice. And the other one, God, what? See, this is so hard to do because I'm trying to like look up that one. So I typed in bird dinosaur Jurassic World Dominion, right? And so it starts with talking about the Pyroraptor, which is the feather raptor. And then it brings up the Giganotosaurus, which was the T-Rex thing. And the Quetzalcoatlus, which is the pterodactyl one. I'm scrolling through this thing. And it took me that long to find the name of that dinosaur. This dinosaur is so important that they put it at the end of the fucking movie. But I have to read through 5 paragraphs to find out its fucking name when I Googled bird dinosaur. That thing is a Therizinosaurus. Okay. That's going to be a great action figure. I think that that's like the thing to me that like why I end up hating this movie more than Fallen Kingdom. You could argue Fallen Kingdom, trying to go into the scary horror elements at the end of the movie, whatever, was trying for something different-ish. Failed horribly, but tried. This movie tried nothing new other than goes, I want to disrespect the entire memory of the Jurassic Park franchise and why anybody likes these movies. And somehow this is the same fucking director that directed Jurassic World. The same guy that got it, that understood what made the Jurassic Park franchise great. In Jurassic World went, fuck all of it. Fuck your dinosaurs. Fuck your memories. Fuck everything. Here are some goddamn locusts. Fuck you. Fuck you, Colin Trevino or Tavara, whatever the fuck his name is. He's not good enough for me to remember his goddamn name now. I'm very mad about this. I don't know. Heather, you go. What are your thoughts? What are your spoilery thoughts about this?
Yeah, I mean, and I do get what you mean about like, this one's a bigger disappointment. And that does actually make sense. But I guess for me, it comes down to like, if I were going to have to watch, if I had to choose between this one and Fallen Kingdom that I had to watch again, it would probably be this one for me. For that aspect, entertainment value wise, I just like this one a little bit more. But to your point, it does make sense because it's like the huge letdowns, huge missed opportunities in this movie, especially as like the finale of it, right? So it's definitely understandable what you're saying too, and I don't disagree with you. I actually fully agree with you on that. I guess for me, at the end of the day, I would just prefer watching this one over the other one. But yeah, I mean, I think that, I don't know, it's just hard to really think of anything except for like, I agree with you about the fight at the end with the dinosaurs, where it was like, that is the exact same fight that we'd seen before. I actually thought that exact same thing. I was like, we've seen this before. Like this is way too familiar. Like this is the exact same thing. So we know how this is going to play out. And the only difference was when Sam Neill's character was like, oh, it's not about us. But if you think about it, I feel like in the other one, it wasn't about them either. They just didn't like verbally say that. Like, unless I'm mistaken, it was the same thing where they're just like, no, I just got to fight this other one. You know what I mean? So it was the same trick that they did in the other movie. And it gets a little distracting because you're just like, how much money did you spend to make the same movie and do the same scenes that you did in these other movies? And I think like there were not as many funny moments in this movie as I would have liked there to be, considering who was in it. But I will say one person I did forget to mention in this was the pilot. I think her name was Kayla. I did like her character. I thought she was a good addition because she was the one actually kind of bringing the funny for a lot of it. Like her character was just very confident and very smart and just this, not afraid, just very brave, very like mission oriented in a sense type of person. And I think she was a good addition to the team. But again, her dynamic was so limited to who she really interacted with. And that's really a bummer because I think more of her with them too would have just been very funny. I just think that she was a good character that they did add, but underutilized. Like, I feel like maybe there was like a big deleted scene with more of her in it that just got cut or something to like make her a little bit more important that they should have kept in or something. But
maybe all her scenes had to do with dinosaurs, and that's why they cut it out. They couldn't fucking have that in this movie.
Right. Yeah. She talked too much about dinosaurs, so we had to cut that. Yeah. But she was good. And yeah, I just think that utilizing her more would have been a good thing because she was a good addition to this movie. And also, I mean, I don't know if I'd say the most realistic really, but just sort of her reactions to things, I felt like were a little bit more how somebody would react in that situation. You know, she's like, all right, well, let's get out of here. All right, we got to go. Okay. You know, she was just very entertaining, I think. I don't know. I think and when they brought back Sam Neill and Laura Dern, I did not care for that whole scene where they're like undercover going to try and get that sample or, you know, whatever it was. I just thought that was super weird because these like renowned, you know, professionals in their field are just fumbling about like they have no idea what they're doing. And I'm like, what is that? Like, that is not, it doesn't make sense with like their characters at all, you know, like as careful as they are around dinosaurs and as much as they know what to look out for and stuff like that. And they couldn't figure out like how to do this in a discreet, not crazy way. Like it just was super strange to me that they were just so fumbling about at something that should not have been that difficult for them specifically, you know, and it was just really funny to me. And what was the guy who was helping them out? Ramsey? Was that his name?
Yeah, something
the guy that was kind of like showing them, oh yeah, don't go in this area or whatever, where you obviously knew they were going to do that. Yeah. He, you know, I couldn't figure him out for a minute because I was like, okay, is he going to like double cross? Because he kind of had that vibe about him where you couldn't really read him. And I mean, I guess it's cool that he didn't double cross, you know, he did actually want to help, but it could have been an interesting twist to have something like that happen. But in either case, it's just like, why? I mean, why wasn't he just doing what they were having Sam Neill and Laura Dern do? Like he was already working there. And like, why didn't they just have him do what they had them go in there to do? There was no reason for them to do it if he was just going to be able to do it the whole time. Like he already works there. He already has the access apparently. Like why were these two needed to get that done? It was just very strange to me. I don't.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it was.
I think that's a very good point. Why did they have to do that when he would have had a much easier, you could argue he would have had a much easier time doing what they did.
Well, but, and also, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, especially these people who have clearly never really been in this area before. And like, they're even trying to figure out like, where specifically do they need to go in this little secret area? Like, why are you leaving them to themselves in this very, you know, like secretive place anyway? Like nobody gave more guidance on that. That's super weird to me. Like, why was that the smart choice?
Well, and also with that, this place has hella security and all this other shit, but the badges don't tell you whose fucking badge it is.
Right. Yeah. Like, oh, well, this person clearly was down here. Yeah. You're
they're
right.
not like going, hey, why was Ramsey? Bro, why was your badge just used to get in this lab?
Right.
Like, they don't, none of that. Dude, the fucking key fob I put on my front door, I can tell you whose keys used to get in my fucking door.
Yeah.
I bought that fucking thing for $75 on Amazon.
And this secret lab couldn't do that. Yeah, you're totally right. Like,
and the plan was, I'm going to leave you alone for 30 minutes and y'all just go and do this. It was just so weird. He just left them.
Yeah.
Like you said, he just left. And then they just had to do it themselves. And it's just, man, just the more I think about it, the more it just proves that you are correct. He would have had such an easier time doing that if that's what needed to be done. If you just needed to go in there, get a sample of the locusts and all that stuff. And he was on their side from the get-go. Why? You're exactly right. Why did you need these two people? Okay, celebrity doctor, celebrity doctors. They're well known. People know who Dr. Grant is.
Especially in the world of Jurassic World, where they were famous. In this one, the second and third movies didn't happen. So in the Jurassic World universe, only Jurassic Park had happened. So they're still one of the few people that knew about dinosaurs before everybody else. Like, that's the thing, is they still went through it before everybody else. Dude, still, and they even, how many times in this movie did they go, oh my God, you're famous here.
Yeah.
Everyone loves you.
So we're going to leave you by yourself. Like,
your
that
research,
would have happened.
what you did, we read your book, blah, blah, blah. How could they sneak anywhere?
Right. Like, they would have been surrounded by people too much, I mean, and the whole thing about them going instead of Ramsey, it would have made more sense. Like, if he was going to double cross or something, he could have been like, oh, Malcolm sent these guys down here. You need to, get all of them out of here. And like, he does what he does. Like, it would have made more sense if he was going to double cross them for him to not be the one to do it. Like, at that time, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Say something like, why are you guys planting these locusts in our lab?
Yeah. And why do we have locusts in general? Yeah.
That would have been an amazing line from him. What are all these locusts doing here? That makes no sense at this dinosaur place for us to have locusts. You must have planted them, you evil people.
That's probably the line Kayla said that got cut out. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she would have been like, wait, why the fuck are there locusts on this dinosaur island? When they're like, oh no, guys, the flaming locust tornado. She would have been like, wait a second, why are there locusts in the dinosaur place?
Right. They could have none of that. Yeah. But yeah, it was just a very odd scene. Like, I get that they were trying to set up, what was going to happen after that, but it was just a weird setup for it. And like, just acted like they were complete fools and knew nothing about anything. And like, it was just very off-putting with how they wanted to do that. But yeah.
Well, especially after the first Jurassic Park movie where they're actually together, when you see them being insanely capable when getting away from dinosaurs,
right?
And then they're bumbling around a laboratory. Yeah, like it's a fucking Mr. Bean movie.
That's exactly it. Like, where did this come from? Like, it was just so weird. Yeah. But I would say that's probably one of my least favorite parts of this movie. But yeah, it just, I do understand, like, we had to set something up, but it just was such a weird setup, and I actually thought for a minute that, because I was wondering with this Kayla character, I was like, okay, so who is she? Why is she important here? I actually thought for a minute, like, maybe she was going to be Dr. Malcolm's daughter or something, where that could have been a fun little twist to be like, oh, we're working at the same place or something, or like she's on the inside and she's helping out with this stuff, like carrying on the legacy or something. But you said that the second movie didn't even like happen in this world, right?
Well, the second movie doesn't technically happen in this universe, but
yeah,
you could argue that the daughter would still exist. He says in the first movie he's got 3 kids.
And he said in this one, I think 5.
Yeah, he's got 5 now. So, but you would argue that, for his daughter to be the age she was in Lost World, that he would have had to have already had her when Jurassic Park happened.
Yeah.
So you could argue that yeah, it could have been that daughter. But like I said, they technically got rid of the second movie because in this world, there's no Isla Sorna.
Yeah.
There's just
okay.
Isla
And
Nublar.
I had forgotten about that. Like when I saw this last movie, I forgot that they
didn't care about anything else. So why the fuck not do it?
Right. Yeah. But it just would have been, I don't know, something different and interesting or some kind of twist or surprise, because literally nothing else was. And kind of what I talked about earlier, where there's like no stakes in this movie. It's like, we know that none of the main people are going to die, right? Like we've seen this before. they're not killing off Owen. They're not killing off Claire. You know, they're not going to kill off the little girl. It's just, that's not the norm for Jurassic Park or Jurassic World from what we've seen. So you don't really feel like any of them are really in danger. So the tension of what's happening with these dinosaurs is gone. I thought for just a quick minute that maybe Owen would die because he said that line of, I always come back. So I was like, that's never a good thing to say it. But, you know, for the most part, 98% of this movie, I was like, I think everybody's pretty safe, you know, because that's just not how they operate. They don't kill off for the sake of it any main characters for whatever reason, which is fine. But at the same time, that means you're not worried about that at any point. Like, you're not worried about these characters. You're not going to invest in a sense in that as much because you already know that that's not really going to happen. So yeah, it's just very standard, very like run of the mill of, okay, you're going to show us more dinosaurs fighting. Cool. More people getting out of situations around dinosaurs. Cool. But you're not surprised by anything that's happening. And that is probably the biggest fault with this movie. Probably the last couple of them, but you know, and actually Owen wasn't really like a main character in this one. It didn't feel like, you know, they brought in so many other characters that were important, you know, in the original and stuff. He was, but it just felt like he didn't really have a whole lot of screen time in this one as much as the others. So I thought that was interesting, but I mean, he still did what he was supposed to do character wise, but yeah, it just felt like he wasn't really a main character this time around, you know? I actually kind of
argued that there were no main characters in this movie. They were just,
that's also fair.
There's just a bunch of characters.
I mean, but I feel like even Claire was a little bit more of a main character just because also they go into a little bit more of how, you know, her relationship with Claire and like how she wants to be her mom and sort of that whole dynamic of them. And it feels like it focuses a little bit more on her than it does on Owen in this film in that regard. But what is the little girl's name? I forget her name. Clone girl. She is, I think she's actually kind of annoying in this. I mean, that happens a lot with kids in like these movies, but I just feel like she was just this, I understand that they were trying to go with like, she's angry at the world because of what she is. And she's still trying to figure out how to come to terms with the fact that she's like a full clone of somebody else and she's not really human or whatever, you know. But it just was a weird, like, if these people like saved you and are protecting you from the people that are trying to kill you or experiment on you or whatever they're trying to do, and you're acting like they're just this inconvenience to you. And I'm like, you're such a child. I mean, and she is. So that's how a teenage girl would probably act. But it was just annoying for the situation she was in for her to be like that. Especially because the whole thing is she's not like normal kids or teenagers in the first place. So like, she's just straight up acting like one when I don't think in a normal scenario would be, if that makes sense. But she was just kind of irritating to me in this movie.
I mean, and I get that because like they do have the whole thing of, they have the interesting premise of, if I'm a clone, am I my own person? And you're getting that from the clone perspective, which you rarely get in some of these movies. So you get that cool existential premise that they do fucking nothing with, other than they want to go use the tired ass movie trope of somebody's adopted and they go, you're not my real mother. Because, you know, we don't have enough movies with that fucking line in them.
I mean, that's about right, honestly. But I thought that also the Dodgson, was that his name? Dodgson, the kind of the main bad guy, if you will, in this movie. He was an interesting character. And I'm not saying it's bad, but just sort of the way that he is, like he was a very awkward, very, you know, introverted, not good with people, not this charming kind of guy. Like he's not your quintessential villain that you feel, he wasn't menacing or anything like that. He was just this normal guy that wanted to do bad things. Like he wasn't a very menacing, I don't know if I'd say predictable maybe, but he didn't have the villain vibe that I would normally think of for the bad guy, the main bad guy, and that's fine. They don't always have to be over the top in their villainous ways, but like, again, for this being the finale of this movie, it's like, who's going to be the big bad of this final movie of this sequence of movies? And this is what we got, and it was just very interesting to me. So you're right. Disappointing is a really great word for this movie. And I say this, but I still say, you know what? It was okay. Like, what they did with it was fine. If it was new and it was original and it was stuff I hadn't already seen in the other movies, I probably would be fine with it more. But it's just more of like, it was okay before and it's okay now. Whatever. You didn't do it better, but you didn't necessarily do it worse. You're just kind of doing the same thing. So that was really the main theme from this movie when it came to that for me.
Real quick before you go, Jastin, a little bit of trivia about Dodgson. So if you guys didn't catch it, Dodgson this is not the first time he's appeared in the franchise. The character of Dodgson was the character that met Nedry at the place in Costa Rica to give him the Barbasol can to steal the dinosaurs.
Yeah. In the first Jurassic Park.
That is Dodgson. That is supposed to be the same character. There's a reason why he was recast. The guy that played Dodgson in the first Jurassic Park is now a registered sex offender. So can't have him back.
Oh boy.
Understandably so. Not going to hit you on that one. But yeah, that's why. That's also why he was obsessed with the Barbasol can. That was the Barbasol can he gave to Nedry that they, I guess, somehow went and found in the middle of the dinosaur island. So that was that character. That was Dodgson. That was literally supposed to be the same character from the first movie. So, and that's also why they gave him the Nedry death of going up against the Dilophosaurus, and they killed him the same way, which I guess, okay, whatever, but also made no sense because all the dinosaurs were supposed to have been forcibly congregated to this one area, but instead there's fucking Dilophosaurus running around a tunnel just so they could give that stupid death. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And not even show it. Like,
what? And not even show it.
Yeah.
Just show him get spit on, and then, outside the train and hearing him scream. Oh, okay, cool. I guess. Whatever. All right, Jess, that's all. I just wanted to throw that out there since she just mentioned that, and I forgot to mention that earlier. That's the whole Dodgson thing.
Okay. And again, I didn't think about that, but there's another trick that we are using again, the whole spit, the spitter death and everything like that. It's just, man, that they just put so much stuff on repeat with this movie. Like, and one more thing about the Dodgson character. Didn't it feel like towards the end there for a lot of scenes, he was just angrily reacting to things that were happening? And like,
that's all he did.
Not doing anything. He was just,
it's why he was not a good villain. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are they? They're in this location. They broke free of that location and now they're in this location. I don't know. I just felt like most of the time he was grimacing or sulking or looking down or sighing because things were going wrong. And that was it. Like, that's the best we could do. I mean, at least why not just go all in? Why can't he just be a villain that is just unapologetically, I don't care about the dinosaurs. I only care about me. I only care about my money. That I'm only doing this because when they started to roam around in the country or whatever, I saw dollar signs. And that's all I'm about.
Why did he also have, like, every plan he had was the worst possible plan? Like, he's supposed to be the CEO of a big genetics company that was able to give government contracts to collect all dinosaurs in the world and all kinds of shit. But he had the worst plans ever. Like, hey, let's release these genetic Cretaceous locusts all around the world, but they're genetically engineered not to eat our crops. Like, that wouldn't throw up a big fucking red flag at some point? Like,
yeah, exactly. Who wasn't going to be able to figure that out? I mean, Laura Dern figured it out immediately, but it was like, but still, who wouldn't have figured that out? Everybody would have been on your ass. Like, how was that an effective plan? It's just, man, like that was just such a sad excuse for a villain. You know, it's just, and I don't know if they kind of wanted, you know, kind of like the doctor in the first film, where he's kind of got some intentions that are good, but he's misunderstood, and but at the same time he's got these crooked things. It was like they tried to make him a little bit of both. He sort of kind of acted like the misunderstood kind of doctor person with geneticist with good intentions, but then it was like they flipped it later and was like, no, he's a bad person. But then at the end, he just wasn't acting. He acted so harmless and just so like insignificant. He was just mad at everything that was happening. He's so weird to me. It was just such a weird character.
He didn't seem menacing enough to be a capable villain of anything.
Yeah.
He just seemed like a bumbling man.
Yeah, that's just, yeah. And maybe that's why I was getting vibes of, were they trying to make him sort of a kind of also charming, misunderstood? Maybe that's why I'm having so much trouble with it, because he just was nothing, you know. Maybe I'm just trying to make something out of nothing, but the truth is he just really was nothing. But like, and my goodness, this film had so many plot conveniences. Just the picture that I saw, you know, the child I saw, I happen to be in the place where you are, so you show me the picture, I've seen the child. You know, I have no concept of where they were when they were on this island doing things. And somehow characters are meeting up and meeting at the same location. And I'm like, and the locations don't seem like they're close to each other. It didn't seem like what these characters were doing over here, that they would suddenly meet up at the same location with these characters over here, but it would just happen, you know? And it never seemed like it was part of a plan. It just seemed like it all just sort of, a lot of times those scenes just seem like it happened by chance. And it's like, how could you have crashed, went here, we ducked and dodged this sea dinosaur, then we're over here, and then somehow we wind up together? I don't know. It just, I didn't understand.
Keep the plane open. I know he's going to be here. Like, and he just out of nowhere comes and up to the back of the plane. Like, what? Well,
and then on top of that, too, with some of this stuff, I mean, this movie is so poorly planned out that Jastin just called the main location of this movie an island. And it wasn't. It was a jungle in the middle of the Italian Alps. But, exactly. That's how poorly planned this movie is.
Maybe I missed that.
Because it's a fucking island. It looks like every other island that Jurassic Park has island on before.
Yeah.
And it's a jungle in the middle of the Alps somehow. In Italy.
Yeah.
Unless I got confused by when they said Italian Alps. They just meant some fucking island somewhere else. Because wouldn't an island make more sense, you know, to keep dinosaurs away from people?
Yeah.
Put it, I don't know, on an island. Not in the middle of Europe.
Yeah, my bad on that. But like you said, it just looked so much like just like it was an island somewhere else that maybe I missed that, or it just went out of my mind because I didn't recognize anything from where they said we were. But
they said it at the beginning of the movie when they were doing the montage of dinosaur shit. And they were like, Biosyn got the contract to collect all the dinosaurs and put them in this preserve in the Italian Alps. But then once again, it's a jungle. It's a fucking jungle. You know, like all those classic Italian things, like jungles.
I honestly forgot that too, though.
Northern Italy, like a jungle.
Yeah, like, and then it just took so long to get all of the characters together. So you had some fun interactions, but it just wasn't enough. By the time you got to the end, it just wasn't enough. You know, there was that one scene where Dr. Grant and Owen at the same time kind of say, don't move. I did like that scene. You know, the two kind of alpha male leaders that have kind of been those leader, you know, the leader, the quote unquote leader men of this series or whatever. And I like that they at the same time tried to like administer leadership, like at the same time. And then they sort of looked at each other like, you know, that was kind of funny. And I just wish I could have gotten more of that. You know, I wish I could have gotten more things like that. But it just felt like it was kind of just shoehorned at the end. You know, like, why did they make us wait so long to get the Avengers together, so to speak? Like, why did we have to wait so long to get all of them together? You know, and maybe the thought process was, oh, we're going to get all the way to the end. It's going to be so satisfying to get them together. But no, it was just, you starved me. And then at the end, when I finally ate a little something, it just didn't satiate anything. You know, I was still hungry. You know, you starved me for too long. And so I just didn't think that was as effective as it needed to be. And then you just also can't shake the feeling that we've just done all of this. Even though it was kind of cool, all of them, you know, getting to interact with the big super genetic T-Rex thing, and they're trying to avoid it and not trying to be ate and all of that stuff, moving around the building and all of that stuff, and they're all together. That was kind of a fun scene with them all together, but ultimately it just culminates to the same thing we've already seen. And y'all have already talked about the T-Rex scene, so no need to revisit that, but ultimately it just leads up to something we've already seen. And unfortunately, that's just, and then this clone character, the child. And I understand in a lot of these movies, they feel like there has to be a child element. You know, that's another thing in these movies. You know, they try to have some young person or young people doing some shit and, you know, either screwing up, making life hard for our heroes, or, you know, we think they're insignificant, but they do something significant, whether it's a gymnastic kick or whether one of them can hack into a computer and unlock and start up the electricity on the wall. We got to have some kids doing some relevant shit. So I get it. This is the same card trick. But like when she finds out about her mom and your mom wanted you and all this stuff, I didn't feel anything when that was happening. I felt nothing. This character barely got here. Why is she getting all of this? I don't. Am I wrong to feel like
Why
that?
was she the most important character in this movie when you have the 3 returning stars of the first one?
Yep.
Exactly. She felt like the most important thing. She got that whole big satisfying monologue. Oh, your mom. And she, you know, before she passed, she had all this faith in you. And she had this dream of doing this, doing that. And I was like, why is this to become the most important thing?
And also, why did they have to tie her to Dr. Sattler's character? Of they met once whenever she was like doing a lecture at her school. They had to make some dumb connection there to where she tied back to these other people. Like, come on. But going into that too, something I forgot about earlier. why did Dr. Henry Wu all of a sudden deserve a fucking redemption story in this? This man is a downright evil man with a god complex in the last two movies. And then in this movie, he's just remorseful as fuck because he makes locusts. Was that the Colin Trevorrow like supplement in this movie that he was forced to put locusts in this movie? So he wanted this character to be sad there were locusts too? Was that it? Was that Colin Trevorrow going, the studio ruined my movie? This guy is me? And he's sorry for the locusts too? Just like I am?
I like this reason.
Yeah, I like it. That is officially what it is.
Because that's the only way it makes fucking sense?
Yeah. And all I could think in that moment was, how does this absolve him from all these bodies, all these people that died, all of this? How in the world is this? How is he redeemed for this one action? But the way it was produced and the music that they played, boy, they really tried to convince me. They really tried to convince me, man. It was playing good music, just the bright sky, the bright redemptive skyline. And I mean, they really tried, man. They really tried. And then you see in an instant the locusts eradicate each other. And you're just like, oh man, you know, they really just were like, see, isn't he redeemed? And I was like, no, he isn't.
Jastin, what do you mean?
I just didn't buy it.
He was in a golden field. Like a Greek hero moving on to the afterlife of the Elysian fields.
That skyline was redemptive as fuck. I mean, like if you saw that skyline, I mean, if I walked outside and I was in that skyline, I was like, you know what? I have been forgiven. Like I just, you know, I would like to think that when God forgives people, that when he does it, that's what happens. The sky turns that color and you are forgiven.
Here's your
I would just like to
field.
believe that's how it goes. I would like to believe that is how it works. That it has to work like that. You are not forgiven until you see that skyline. That's the only way you can know. That's the only code. Otherwise you better keep praying. That's how it feels. Like that was a redemptive ass skyline, Sterling. You know it was.
And it didn't even show him have a realization moment. When you first see him in this movie, he's just like, oh, what was me, the locust? What have I done? Nothing. He just didn't even come out. Nothing. He comes in looking like a beaten man because he was forced to do locusts. He might be Colin Trevorrow. He comes in such a beaten character. Just so weary of the battles he's had to have with the I don't know, the other guy, the other non-villain guy. Just who had beaten him down with all his non-villainry. And he just had to had to make the locusts and had to feel bad about them. And I don't know. And how does releasing one genetic locust kill them all? Like immediately? How do you genetically kill every locust by just putting one next to them? Most of the time when you do stuff like that, the things they do that with, the way they genetically manipulate it kind of takes several generations of it. Like there are some mosquitoes that we've genetically engineered to be re-released into mosquito populations that actually ultimately make mosquitoes infertile. So mosquito populations drop down, and that's how you can fight malaria and stuff like that. But it requires them to fuck to do it. Like, did he just release a super horny locust that just went around fucking all the locusts instantly and killing them? Like,
it was instant, bro. It was instant. I can't make minute rice that fast. I can't microwave oatmeal that fast. And it was over, bro. It was over in a matter of seconds. That was it. I don't know what I could prepare that quickly. I mean, in the time it would take me to walk to my refrigerator and grab something to eat, it was over, dude. It was over, and that man was redeemed. So,
but going into this movie though, like, you can't tell me that if you went to Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, or Sam Neill and went like, hey, we want to bring you into this. And you're like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll do it. And they're like, we kind of want to kill you in this movie, though. That any of them wouldn't have been, all right, let's do it. They all would have fucking signed up for it. Get a fucking iconic character and you kill him in your movie? They would have all done it.
It would have meant something more than what it did, what they did in this movie.
Yeah.
The Jurassic Park movies follow a very strict pattern of no good character will die in the third act of the movie. The closest you get to that is in the first one when Muldoon gets killed. The hunter guy gets killed by the raptor.
Yeah.
Or maybe Sam Jackson's character. But I like Sam Jackson's theory on that character. I think the guy's name is Jack. But yeah, I like his theory on that character of the character's not dead. He's just running around on the island riding raptors with one arm at this point. Because you never see the man actually die.
That's true.
That's true.
All you know is that he lost arm. That's all you know. But like that's kind of the theory of, or like that's my working theory with the Jurassic World movies or any of the movies. No good character dies once you get to the third act. And so like once you get to the third act of this movie and everyone's still alive, you're just kind of like, oh, there's no more stakes for the rest of this movie. There's nothing left. Even Henry Wu, since he now felt sorry, was a quote unquote good guy, wasn't going to die.
Nope.
Just takes all the fucking like air out of the sails when it comes to that. You know, I mean, I hate to be this callous about it, but you got to kill some people with some fucking dinosaurs. Like that's what you got to do. They rolled up into this movie with the lowest body count, I think, of any of them. Well, okay, with the does this movie have the lowest body count? I'm trying to compare it to Jurassic Park 3. But I remember there's all the mercenaries at the one point. They all get killed by the Spinosaurus guy. A couple of them get killed by raptors. And then there's the stepdad at the beginning of the movie. So that actually might have more deaths than this movie. I think more people die from fire locusts in this movie than fucking dinosaurs. It's kind of sad.
And if you had had this be a breakout that took place in the city, you could have had hella death. You could have had a lot of exciting scenes.
Man.
You could have had people trying to seek refuge and, you know, our main characters trying to do something about it and trying to capture these dinosaurs. You know, you could have really, trying to help get, round up these dinosaurs and try to keep people safe because they kind of know interactions and stuff. You would have had Owen out there trying to help. And I mean, you just, man, I just wish they had went a different direction.
Man, think about it, dude. You could have had like a pack of raptors and Owen's trying to chase them down to find Blue, try to convince her to convince the raptors to stop it. You know, you could have had a scene where a bunch of families are swimming in a lake and then that feather fuck swimming dinosaur could have jumped in, fucking done a cool homage to Jaws, have some guy swimming, just get bumped under the water, then bumped under the water again. And then it's just slaughter and everybody's running out of the lake. Man, you could have done so much cool shit. And then you still could have done the evil corporation thing where they're like, see, we're training some dinosaurs to go kill these other dinosaurs or whatever. And everybody will be like, yeah, that's how you do it. And then it turns out they're doing it to do some secret other bullshit and they get exposed. And then that's why all the main characters have to join together to fight with the dinosaurs to battle the evil dinosaurs. Something. Any of that shit would have been better than the fucking movie we got.
Yep.
You still could have done a big old fucking rain scene. You could have done another T-Rex fights a monster scene. Like, you could have still done all the shit they did.
Mm-hmm. And Clone Girl could have found out about her mom halfway through. Then we could have been done with that, and now she's just trying to help.
Or, I don't know, just forget the clone shit and ignore the last movie like that didn't happen, and she's just a normal fucking girl in this one that they happen to adopt. That's fine, too.
Yeah.
I'm looking at, like, the kill count of all the movies. Let me go back. So Jurassic Park has 11 that they're listing for the kill count.
But there was also barely any people in that movie. When you really look at it, there's not that many people in Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lost World has 17.
Fair.
Jurassic Park 3 has 9.
Like I said, I didn't think that would kind of be iffy.
Yeah. Jurassic World looks like the most so far has 37.
I'm about to say that a lot of people die in that movie.
Yeah.
I will say this about that Indominus Rex kills so many people. It just kills so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom has even more. It has 42.
Which makes sense because of all the people in that auction. Like so many people at that house get murdered when the dinosaurs start escaping.
And they don't have do they? No, they don't have anything for the newest one yet, but yeah.
I don't think it has more than 9.
It probably doesn't.
Like 2 people that die
at the beginning with the guy, the thing.
Oh, see, that's the thing is how many people die from the fish fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Like how many people die on that boat because of the fish fuck? That's the only kind of thing up in the air. Because when they're in Maltese, only like 4 or 5 people die. And then when they're in the jungle of the Italian, it's the Dolomite Mountains too. It's not even the Alps. It's the Dolomites. It's on the other side of northern Italy. Not too many people die there. It's like the bad guy with the Dilophosaurus, and that's really about it. No one else really dies. Because they don't even really do any containment.
I think you're right.
All the most of the deaths happened in Maltese at the dinosaur black market scene.
Mm-hmm, the black market. Yep, that's where most of them die. That is true.
I mean, the little kids don't even get killed by the locusts.
Yeah,
that's true.
In that West Texas, looking Wyoming as fuck.
I'm looking at a different article. It's also 9 for the kill count in Dominion.
Well, there you go.
See? They even rip off the kill count of another movie.
No death.
Right.
And that's the thing is there's so many people in this movie. At least Jurassic Park 3 can argue there's not that many people in it. You know?
Yeah.
You at least get that argument. There's so many people in this movie. The dinosaurs are in a fucking town. There's so many people in this movie and such little death. Come on. At least Jurassic World got it right because they had an open theme park. So all those people dying, like, that would be realistic at that point. Also, like, I used to feel bad about one of the people that died in Jurassic World. The assistant, the one that, like, forgets to take care of the kids and then they, like, run away. Like, she gets brutalized when she dies because she gets, like, piggybacked off, like, 2 flying dinosaurs and then they're diving in the water and, like, drowning her and then she gets eaten by the Mesiosaurus. You're like, what the fuck did that woman do to somebody? Like, did she piss off everybody in that fucking production? It turns out they were like, hey, we want to kill your character. And she was like, I want the coolest fucking death there is then. Like, she was like, no, we're going to go fucking with it then. Like, amp it up. And I'm like, okay. All right. They didn't do that because they hated her or something. Or they were just harassing her. Right. Like, that was her idea to go. She was like, look, like, you know, cool. If you want to kill me in the scene, like, let's go fucking with it. So I'm like, okay. Because she's got one of the most memorable deaths in the franchise.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's right up there with the lawyer from the first movie, even Muldoon from the first movie. Those are probably the other most iconic deaths in these movies. Muldoon and the lawyer. Ooh, or is it that guy at the very beginning of Jurassic Park? That's a great, great scene.
Yeah. Yeah, with him, he's trying to reach around that corner, and the the raptors grabbing him or eating him, and they're trying to pull him, and you see his hands slowly slipping away from that guy that's trying to hold on to him. That was cool.
And yeah, because it's Muldoon. Muldoon's the one holding him. He's like, shoot her, shoot her. And you just hear all the gunshots as it fades to black. And then it turns out that didn't kill her, because that's still the main raptor in the fucking rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. Dude, that first Jurassic Park, man. Just so many things. Like I said, most of the iconic deaths are in that movie. Like I said, the lawyer on the toilet, Muldoon with the clever girl, even Nedry bumbling around on the fucking things getting killed by the Dilophosaurus. Those are fucking iconic ass fucking deaths, man. That's some good shit. Some good shit. And then, like I said, I'm just guessing about deaths in this last one, just guessing. And like I said, you don't even get a death. You get one death for like the last 2/3 of a movie. Come on. It's dinosaurs. They're not even just accidentally stepping on somebody. Like, some of those fuckers are big. And it's just also, how did they get all these dinosaurs that weren't around in the other movies? How are they all of a sudden in this? Where did they come from? The whole point is all these dinosaurs were made on Isla Nublar. And somehow there's just new dinosaurs. They don't think things through, man. I will say this about Fallen Kingdom. Fallen Kingdom's got a legit opening. I do like the opening scene of that movie. That's super good.
I'm trying to remember what it is.
That's whenever they're sending people to go to the island to get like a bone from the Indominus Rex, supposedly so they could probably like clone it. And so they send the submarine into the lagoon. And then they send the other guy to control the gates and stuff. And while they're doing that, the Mesosaurus destroys the submarine. And then the fucking T-Rex comes and fucks up the one, or like almost fucks up the one guy, and then does fuck up the one guy. And then they're like, oh, I guess we're going to fly away. And that's when the Mesosaurus fucking breaks out into the ocean. That was a super good beginning of a movie. But I totally forget why you forgot about it, because the rest of the movie is insanely forgettable. And, you just want to forget the rest of that movie. So I get it. But no, that opening of that movie is super solid. It totally lies to you about the rest of the fucking movie. You're like, man, if the movie's this caliber, all right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not. Oh, it's not. Same with this movie. Like I said, I think my favorite scene in the movie is the Mesosaurus in this one. And the rest of the movie does not live up to that either. Ugh. And also, why is the Mesosaurus at the end like just swimming around with blue whales? It'd fucking try to eat them. It's a fucking carnivore.
That was the thing. Like that whole thing at the end too, where they're like, oh yeah, they got to start learning how to live in harmony. And I'm like, how do they just like suddenly, without any sort of hesitation, peacefully live with them? Like, it was just like, oh, well, now they're in the world, so they're just among the animals, and like that wouldn't be them trying to kill them. Like, it was just very weird.
Well, yeah, that scene is the equivalent of like a deer and a wolf learning to live in harmony with each other, because they're like kind of comparable in size, and they're just like, oh, we're going to live in harmony now. You surely won't attack me, Mr. Wolf. we're the same size and now we're in harmony.
Right.
Same with the pterodactyls and the fucking birds at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
Like, no, the pterodactyl would fucking eat them too.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that makes sense is the triceratops and the fucking rhinos. Sure, they're the same fucking thing, essentially. Okay, that makes sense.
And how are you going to regulate? How could you keep pterodactyls like in a safe environment in any kind of way? Like, how could you regulate where I mean, that's so dangerous. Like this idea that, oh, can we all just get along, or can we all just coexist at the end? That was so weird. Like none of that resonated with me. So what are you saying? So we're going to get along with clones. We're going to get along with genetically altered beasts. We're going to get along. What was it even trying to say? Other than just, we got to coexist. We want to survive.
We got to learn to coexist with this being a part of the Jurassic Park franchise is what it was.
Maybe that's what it was.
You just have to learn to accept that this movie exists now. And you saw it because this is the end of the movie. So just accept it.
I don't want to.
No, it's too late, Jastin. It's too late. It's already a part of you. It's inside you.
No.
Like a pterodactyl and a bird, just one and the same. Obviously, no differences whatsoever. You know, because birds run around and pick up adults all the time. And, you know, birds just go and take down entire planes by attacking them all the time. Same thing. Anyway, fuck this movie. You guys got any more thoughts about it?
Nah.
Nope.
All right, on that note, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet at www.cinemaslayers.com. Facebook, we're Cinema Slayers Podcast. Twitter and Instagram, where we're Cinema_Slayers. TikTok, we're Cinema Slayers Pod. I think I'm going to cut a clip out of this episode, which is just me going, fuck this movie. And it will just be like, Jurassic World Domination Review. Fuck this movie. And that's all the TikTok is. Search us on YouTube, Cinema Slayers Podcast. Because you can now see our faces. We're now not doing just one static image the whole time. You get to see me look completely defeated when we first start talking about this movie. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your friends' family. Wait, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your friends' family, tell your family's friends. And most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because mothers love. I'm waiting on you, Heather. I told you last week I was going to just start going to you. I even told you last week you were going to forget. And it was just going to be me staring at you. Because what do mothers love, Heather?
Ian Malcolm.
That's fair. I think I get it. I love Ian Malcolm too. I get it. So mothers love Ian Malcolm. And shout out to Plug Migo and Mundo Ochoa for our theme song and logos respectively. And as I end the TikToks and this podcast and now the YouTube videos, just remember, according to Jastin, Moon Knight is the Best Picture winner. Speaking of Moon Knight, man, he was in that field like Mark Spector was in Moon Knight. Just redeemed. Just in the golden amber wheat fields of Egypt. Or whatever the fuck that was in Moon Knight.
Cinema Slayers.
You remember that time when we said we weren't going to talk about a Marvel movie for the next few episodes?
Yeah, but I did give the caveat of it wouldn't be anytime soon because I knew Thor was coming up.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going to put something up there with the Marvel movies, you would think you'd be able to do that with the Jurassic Park franchise because of how iconic the first one is.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, like I love the Marvel movies. I just thought it was funny because there's just always something that we can talk about with Marvel that's going to relate to the movie that we're talking about too.
It's great for analogies because fucking everybody's seen them.
The one here was
an easy go-to.
Yeah, this was a really good analogy for the one you did today.
Culminated in Smurfs. Just. At least, I'm not going to lie, I would have actually loved to see a Smurf fire tornado. I'd love to see that in a movie. You know what I'd never want to see in a movie, even though I've already seen it? A fire locust tornado. Yeah, fuck this movie.
What even was that? Say it ain't so, JP. Say it ain't so. We got to have another one. JPW, whatever you call it now. JP, JW, whatever.
The J
we need
series.
Another J, and we got to finish this right. We got to finish this.
You can't even say it's a dinosaur franchise anymore.
The Locust franchise.
It's a dinosaur and locust franchise.
Man, don't even say that. I feel so empty inside.
Yeah, as you should.
Come on, man. They need to make another movie so I can redeem my feelings right now.
Nope.
I want my redemptive skyline.
You know what you might want to watch that you might like is isn't it on Netflix? It's like Jurassic World Cretaceous Camp Cretaceous. Give that a watch.
Okay.
It's not terrible. It's better than this shit.
Okay.
They actually get into more of some of the stuff. Like it gets into like what's his name? Dodgson getting that Barbasol cam back and stuff like that.
Okay. I will check it out.
Yeah, it's an animated series on Netflix. Like I said, dude, it honestly captures the spirit of Jurassic Park better than this shit does. Like these last two movies. Oh, and I didn't realize this. Heather will like this. Stephanie Beatrice is one of the voices on it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Same with Jenna Ortega, who's been in a lot of movies lately.
Yeah, and that Wednesday Addams series coming out.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah,
that's cool though.
Yeah. So no, yeah, like I said, I haven't watched all of it, but I've watched some of it. It's really not bad. So just keep that in mind. Throwing that out there to you guys. If you want some good Jurassic Park content, watch it. I might actually finish that series. Because, yeah, like I said, I just haven't watched all of it. So, yeah. All right, guys. I'm out.